This boy gets beaten every single day. He has no father to protect him, and those kids are ruthless. They beat him so badly that every day he returns to his mother barely able to walk. She comforts and heals him as best as she can, but it repeats again and again, until one day, when just beating this poor boy isn't enough, they bring poisonous needles. While one huge boy pushes him to the ground so he can't move, another one stabs him. The poison immediately spreads through his body, and his eyes fill with blood. Then they just leave him there to die in the middle of nowhere. Our boy can't tell how much time has passed. Rain starts pouring, but he still can't move. He feels death creeping in, but remembering his mother, he just can't give up. Who would protect her then? He begs the heavens for not much, just the strength to protect his mother and live a normal life. Suddenly, with a strike of thunder, a sword falls right in front of him. And strangely, it feels utterly familiar. He gathers all his remaining strength and grabs the handle. A flood of memories fills his mind. This same sword used to belong to him in his past life. He trained with it for 100 years straight and mastered every movement to the level of a true sword god. And now that he's remembered everything and regained his past powers, he'll finally be able to live a normal life. The next morning, his mother rushes toward our protagonist, asking where he thinks he is going after coming in so injured yesterday. Instead of being discouraged, he tells her not to worry and assures nothing bad will happen. He smiles and waves at her, promising to be back. Meanwhile, standing by a tree, the bully wonders if Yeonmyoung is avoiding them today. Another bully replies that they beat him up quite badly, so he probably doesn't want his mother to see him in a sorry state. The first bully laughs, saying that if he shows up, they will beat him thoroughly, and if he doesn't, they will gather the kids to mock him. Just then, another bully turns, announcing our boy is coming. Ryong jumps down from the tree, reminding him that he is really late, and she thought he wasn't going to show up. Our hero faces them with a blank expression. The boy bully approaches, noting that Yeonmyoung must have had a hard time but asking why he looks unharmed. My guy acts like a Chad he is, claiming that much will not hurt him. Moonchan and the other bullies are amazed at his audacity. In response, Jeon-gil clenches his teeth in anger, suggesting he needs a hot compress. He starts twisting his wrist, ready to fight. Surprisingly, our boy thanks Jeon-gil. When she hears her name, she cuts him off and claps, her cheeks nearly blushing. She asks what the occasion is and why Yeonmyoung is calling them by their names today. Soon, her words turn evil as she questions if yesterday's poison wasn't enough and if they should double the dose. Jeon-gil gets angry and shouts, asking why our hero isn't paying attention to the person in front of him. He raises his hand to punch our boy, but in a flash, Yeonmyoung puts a hand on his face and slams him onto the ground. The other bullies are amazed. As a result of the power, the impact creates a huge depression in the earth. They wonder how Jeon-gil got knocked down in one hit. As far as Ryong is concerned, Yeonmyoung was supposed to be untrained in martial arts. Moonchan also worries, saying he doesn't know what happened. Our boy believes that there is no reason he cannot do what they can. He then reminds them they are participating in the clan leader competition and asks if they intend to enter with their current skills. Our hero starts walking toward them, emitting such a strong aura that even the bullies are scared. Moonchan clenches his teeth, thinking Yeonmyoung seems like a completely different person overnight. Nevertheless, he tells himself to calm down, reasoning that Jeon-gil got caught off guard. He convinces himself that after training for years, they will not lose to someone like him. With a roar, Moonchan shouts a challenge, leaping into the air with his knife and dashing down toward our protagonist. However, in midair, our hero catches his hand, breaking his weapon. He declares that if the level of the participants is like this, the competition for the clan leader is pretty much decided. Finally, our boy twists Moonchan's hand, completely defeating him. The hidden poison hall, once the seat of the clan leader, now serves as the council room for the elders. An elder addresses the assembly. Since everyone has gathered, the meeting should commence. He notes that the participants for the upcoming young clan leader competition appear to have been finalized. Because of this, he proposes a final decision regarding the participation of Tang Yeonmyoung, the son of the Poison Phoenix. Although Yeonmyoung has not officially announced his participation, it is well known that the other children have openly beaten him. Not to mention, he has shown no achievements. That is why he assumes there should be no objection to excluding him. However, a member argues that excluding our protagonist, who carries the blood of the previous clan leader, might raise questions about the legitimacy of future competitions. The elder acknowledges the concern but insists it would be a greater problem if someone unskilled were to lower the level of the competition. Even if our hero is of the previous leader's blood, he now amounts to nothing but a burden. Just then, the door slams open, shocking everyone. Our boy enters, dragging Tang Young Ryong behind him. The elders demand to know what he is doing. Yeonmyoung presents the injured Ryong, her eye completely red, a clear sign she has been poisoned. When asked for an explanation, he reveals that he is fully aware of his actions. The members are horrified to witness this unprecedented sight. The boy makes himself clear. He has endured suppression in the Tang clan for too long, and he no longer intends to endure anything. In response, a member shouts, asking how he could harm a child participating in the competition. Another stresses that harming a competitor is a serious crime. But as far as our boy is concerned, he is fully aware of the family rules. So he questions whether there is any problem with a fight between participants. The elder demands clarification, asking if he truly intends to participate. Yeonmyoung, however, believes that his actions are proof enough. He suggests they check the open ground outside, where Moonchan and Jeon-gil, who used to bully him, are lying. He has simply followed the family rule, repaying kindness twofold and revenge tenfold. After he speaks, silence fills the hall. The elder clenches his fist in anger, but eventually acknowledges that Yeonmyeong has proven his worth. Other members protest, arguing he is exploiting the rules and endangering others. However, the elder raises his hand, silencing them. He declares that Yeonmyeong shall participate. They have no right to block a qualified child. Still, he warns that he hopes Yeonmyeong's confidence matches his skill, for if he does not become the young clan leader, he will pay for what happened today. Later, Yeonmyeong tells everything to his mother. She is tense, asking how he could do such a thing, but he explains it was necessary. She realizes from his decisive tone that this is not just an outburst. Reflecting on his name Myeong, meaning to survive as long as possible, she recognizes that she thought he was still a child, but she now senses the presence of a great man. Once she realizes this, she kneels, holding his hand, and states she will not question him ever how he learned his techniques. Though she wants to know only one thing: is he confident about competing? Our boy smiles, reminding her that he is the Poison Phoenix's son. His words make her emotional, and she hugs him, expressing her pride. Hugging his mother, our protagonist thinks her embrace is warm. Consequently, he vows to protect his ordinary life and eliminate anything that disturbs it. 1 month later, in the garden, Tang Jihye walks with Tang Jeokhui, the Dark King's great leader. He considers leaving things as they are, especially since the competition is not child's play. She smiles, telling him to let Yeonmyeong be, confident that our hero has his reasons. In turn, Jeokhui also acknowledges the boy's mentality and courage are unbelievable for his age. She thanks him for protecting Yeonmyeong so far. Even so, Jeokhui admits he had to step in, but wonders if it is really okay for our boy not to train separately. Meanwhile, our protagonist sits in his room, meditating. He reflects on his routine, eating clean meals, sleeping well, and using internal methods to correct his twisted chi paths. You see, simply honing strength and skill is unnecessary right now for someone who has awakened as a swordmaster. For that reason, he believes it is essential to fortify the vessel first. He places his hand on the ground, thinking that at the tender age of 12, his meridians are not heavily blocked. Balancing on one finger, Yeonmyeong concludes that as his level increases, his transformation will occur naturally. Finally, competition day arrives. Our boy enthusiastically tells his mother he is leaving, and she tells him to take care. Tang Jeokhui also bids farewell to his sister, and then our hero and Jeokhui depart. From behind, the mother watches them, wishing Tang Longriang could see how well their son has grown. At the Dark King Hall, many participants arrive. Our guy is busy eating, noting they arrived early. Just then, a group of boys approaches, recognizing him as the son of the Poison Phoenix who beat up Moonchan. However, they dismiss it as a false rumor, claiming he couldn't even learn martial arts. Because of this, they decide they need to instill some discipline. Our protagonist, annoyed, throws a rice cake at the leader's face. The force of the impact knocks the boy to the ground. The others shout, wondering if he used a hidden weapon. Soon, one realizes it is just a half-eaten rice cake and wonders how it could be so powerful. Yeonmyeong mocks them, challenging the group by asking if they will run away despite being participants. Enraged, the group attacks him all together, but our boy doesn't even flinch. From the other side, Tang Jeokhui approaches and sees a body thrown into midair. He runs toward our hero, only to find the whole group lying on the ground. Yeonmyeong sits on top of the pile, eating a rice ball. He asks Jeokhui if he has arrived, stating he was getting bored. He smiles, telling the leader not to misjudge, as they started it. Afterwards, Jeokhui facepalms. In the council, people shout at the Grand Elder. They are unsure how they can overlook so many injuries just before the competition. In light of this, Elder Seok-jung suggests changing the rules. Outside, participants gather in line. One girl whispers, asking how the competition is conducted, so another girl explains the process. 2 to 3 years of training followed by one-on-one duels. On stage, Tang Jeokhui calls for silence. He introduces himself as the overseer and explains the order. 3 years of practice, followed by the main competition. Suddenly, the elder enters the stage and announces that it will be conducted as a goo poison match. Everyone is shocked. As they know, a goo poison match refers to placing strong poisons in a jar to fight until only the most potent remains, a battle royale where only one survives. The elder explains that due to the unfortunate incidents causing numerous dropouts, they cannot proceed with standard duels. Naturally, Jeokhui realizes this is happening because of our boy. The elder states that to prevent further incidents, they changed the format. As a result, the students are clearly angry, blaming Yeonmyeong. The elder says the position is vital to the Tang family's future. He commands them to fight, survive, and conquer, promising the victor will possess everything. Our guy looks at his opponents with a smirk. Now that he realizes only one competitor will survive, he thinks to himself that it does not seem difficult at all. At night, a secret meeting takes place at the Dark Moon Sword Sect camp within the Black Death Alliance territory in Sichuan province. One of the men thanks everyone for gathering, then asks them to listen carefully regarding the recent schemes of the Tang family. In response, the other men at the round table inquire if he is referring to the young clan leader competition. The third man confirms this, stating that their spies reported the competition started a few days ago, and consequently, the participants, the children with the potential to lead the Tang family, have already left in carriages. They discuss how the current Tang family is weak enough that their leader, Yu Gil-jun of the Black Death Alliance, could destroy them anytime. However, the speaker explains that Yu Gil-jun is leaving them alone for now because they still have some use. He points out that these children are the future of the family. Therefore, if anything happens to them, it will deal a permanent blow to the Tang family. The men agree with the elder of the Dark Moon Sword sect, but a member warns that they must remain careful, asking when they should act. The elder replies that for now, they will do nothing, which serves to shock the other members. The elder believes that tracking the carriages and killing the weak birds right now would be too easy, and thus not a painful enough blow. He reminds them that the competition runs for 4 years, asking them to imagine the devastation if all the carefully raised children die right at the climax. With a grin, the masked man smirks, agreeing that it would indeed be a fatal blow. Another member suggests letting the Jagal family or the Moyang family handle it. The Dark Moon Elder, Makinhu, agrees, deciding that they will just track the carriages and make their move after 4 years. The tracking is already arranged, and has already planted a small seed to ensure the Tang family falls entirely into their hands. Meanwhile, at the common mountain venue for the competition, the instructor leads the group forward. The man announces that although the rules changed, the schedule remains the same. So participants will be called by number instead of names. Since they are Group 7, the instructor turns and realizes one is missing. Looking back, he asks number 28, who is our protagonist, why he is lagging behind. Yeonmyeong apologizes for the lag, as he was just thinking for a moment. The instructor scolds him even with his apology, warning him not to fall behind. As they walk, our boy wonders why the person leading them doesn't sense it. He feels a presence behind them, certain they are being tailed. Suddenly, as they move forward, they stop in front of a huge cliff. From the cliff, a voice demands the password from Group 7. The instructor answers with, Poison King of Hidden Poison, and a light shines, confirming the code. Immediately, a figure steps out from the rock face, holding a hand fan. He introduces himself as Jagal Changshin, stating he is here to assist in their competition. The students realize that the Jegal family was once one of the 5 great families, famous masters of formations, but they fell due to the invasion of the Heaven's Brilliance Demon Lord. The group walks inside the cliff, and they are surprised to see a beautiful landscape hidden within. Jagal Changshin explains they use their formations to stop outsiders from interfering with the competition. Naturally, Yuri is amazed, realizing this is the famous formation technique of the Jegal family. Aijun is also impressed, noting that inside the formation, you cannot tell the season or space. While the group starts crossing a wall of lightning, Mirio looks at our boy from the side. She thinks he is acting strange and not concentrating, remembering he was behaving the same way earlier in the carriage. Looking back at a flashback to the carriage ride, the instructor told the children to introduce themselves. Yuri looked at our hero, noting everyone knows about the fight he had. Aijun then told our boy he is quite famous for leaving Tangyung Ryong in such a bad state. Yuri finds our protagonist bold for his actions. She warns him that he might not be safe during the 4 years of the competition, given Tangyung Ryong's great-grandfather is one of the 3 elders. At that point, Yeonmyeong interrupted, asking if they were blaming him for the competition turning into a goo poison match. Mirio refused to let the issue go. Given his smug face, she is unsure if that looked like the face of someone who felt sorry. Instead of apologizing, our boy smirked, making Mirio even angrier. Back in the present, Mirio watches our hero while walking. She vows that if this guy causes another problem, she won't let it slide. Suddenly, she bumps into Yuri because everyone stops moving. Both Yuri and Aijun look terrified, realizing that Jagal Changshin, their guide, has completely disappeared. To their surprise, our boy moves forward and tries to touch the empty air. Mirio wonders what he is doing. She finds it strange that he looks so relaxed. Meanwhile, Jagal Changshin walks down the road alone. In his mind, he assumes the kids must be panicking inside the formation by now. After all, he knows that inside the Jegal family's 7-lock Phantom Dome formation, there is no escape without the caster. He recalls the elder promised to double the support for the Jegal family if he eliminates number 28. But suddenly, to Jagal Changshin's surprise, the air behind him cracks open. From the crack, the 4 kids peek out. Changshin completely freaks out, shouting in confusion. Our boy questions the possibility with instructor Jagal what will happen if he leaves them behind. Changshin is speechless, then quickly lies and claims he made a mistake. Yuri turns toward our protagonist, asking how he did that, to which he simply says he cut it. As far as Mirio is concerned, this isn't the time to worry about that, telling everyone not to lose instructor Jagal Changshin again. But when they look back, Changshin is already gone again. They shout that he disappeared, causing our boy to let out a deep sigh. While running away, the instructor thinks he is pathetic, fleeing inside his own formation. Soon he sees a shining light, realizing it is the exit leading to the training ground. He escapes the formation, thinking this should be enough. But then, a voice alerts him. It is Tang Wanjin, the supervisor for Group 7. The instructor gets really scared, so he lies and says it seems Group 7 will not be participating, explaining they didn't show up. But just then, the air behind them starts cracking. From the other side of the formation, our hero stabs his dagger into the crack, and the crack shatters into pieces like glass. Jagal Changshin watches in disbelief as the Jagal family's supreme technique, the 7-lock Phantom Dome formation, breaks so easily. Finally, Yeonmyeong looks at the instructor with red, glowing eyes. Mirio, amazed, wonders how our hero broke the formation with just a short sword, asking how that is even possible. Our boy explains that he didn't break the formation. Instead, he only opened a gap. He then warns it will close soon, so they should hurry and leave. From the front, the supervisor shouts, asking if they are the participants of Group 7. The students confirm it but ask who he is, until one of them notices the Tang family crest on his hood. The supervisor says he was worried they were attacked, just like the instructor said. Hearing this, Yeonmyoung turns toward the instructor and repeats the word attack sarcastically. The instructor is clearly shaking with fear. Our protagonist smirks, suggesting the instructor must have misunderstood them for being lost. Thanks to him for marking the entrance, they found their way easily. Yeonmyoung suspects the instructor is acting under orders from the Tang family elders for now, but decides to let it be since it is just a guess. However, he vows that if he finds out after the competition that the instructor worked with the elders, he will destroy the Jeagle clan completely. In response, the instructor laughs with a shaking voice, apologizes for making a mistake, and says he will go check the broken formation. With that, he runs away quickly. The supervisor then welcomes them for arriving safely, apologizing for the noise and the lack of an escort. He introduces himself as Tang Wonjin, a member of the Bongwi Brigade, responsible for their training during the competition. The Bongwi Brigade is a direct military force that served under the former young clan leader of the Tang family. Because each member is as powerful as a great leader, they are one of the Tang family's strongest elite forces. Mirio watches Yeonmyoung pick his nose and feels irritated, especially as she remembers that the previous young clan leader was his mother, the Poison Phoenix. After flicking a booger away, our boy asks why Tang Wonjin is not in the Tang family main house. The supervisor explains that years ago, they fought a desperate battle to protect their master, the Poison Phoenix, against Heaven's brilliant demon lord, but were destroyed. And since they failed to protect their master, they are nothing but sinners. Students stare nervously at the word sinner, but the supervisor continues explaining the rules. The first year is for self-practice, allowing them to train however they want, and they will receive martial arts books or teachings based on performance. A student asks about the legendary technique of the Tang family, the 10,000 Heavenly Flower Rain, which was lost during the fight with the Demon Lord. The supervisor confirms the 10,000 Heavenly Flower Rain is guaranteed to the one who becomes the young clan leader. Although it is incomplete, the elders have passed down the essence of the technique. As a result, our boy thinks about the 10,000 Heavenly Flower Rain. He knows it is a technique that handles many hidden weapons like a strong rain, similar to sword control techniques, and consequently wonders if he can mimic it. The supervisor says he has talked too much, telling them to focus only on training. He also clarified they can train together or alone freely. Mirio asks where they will sleep, to which the supervisor says they will sleep in nature to learn how to survive in the forest. Of course, this scares the kids. The supervisor asks if they thought they would be training in comfortable beds, arguing that comfort does not make them strong. That's why adapting to extreme environments is the priority. He raises his fist and tells them to start practicing based on their own judgment. While the three kids are shaking with fear, our protagonist remains relaxed. Yeonmyoung interrupts and asks if it is okay to live comfortably and sleep in a nice bed if he is qualified. After all, nutrition is important for growing kids. He also feels that adapting to the forest seems unnecessary. Once again, the kids clench their teeth, shocked at his arrogance. The supervisor thinks for a moment, seeing our boy as the definition of arrogance. Even though the other kids get mad at him, the supervisor agrees to the deal. He says if our hero passes a test, he can stay in the manor inside the formation, but if he fails, he better be prepared. Yeonmyoung agrees. The supervisor then announces the test is simple. Team members will surround him and throw hidden weapons. Suddenly the scene changes. Our boy stands in the middle, while around him, on the ground, in the trees, and on the cliff, men are waiting. The supervisor explains the test. If our protagonist manages to block or dodge the weapons within 5 steps while blindfolded, he passes. Once he wraps a blindfold around his eyes, the man above the cliff prepares his blades. Every man in position gets alert. The other students wonder if this is even possible, noting that no one is moving yet. Mirio wonders if they are waiting to increase the pressure. Suddenly, everyone throws their weapons at our hero from all directions. Yeonmyoung stands completely still, counting all the blades thrown at him. He thinks it is a bit much, but still a simple task. He takes out his dagger and uses a technique called attachment. Consequently, he blocks all the attacks with his own dagger. Attachment is a principle of martial arts often overlooked, falling under categories like depth, weight, speed, and change. The specific art of ascension contains breaking, scattering, attachment, cutting, and sharpness. For Yeonmyoung, who realized these principles through the sword in his previous life, this is easy, but for those who haven't reached enlightenment, it is shocking. Our hero deflects every single blade. None of them touch him. In fact, none even come an inch close to him. Everyone is shocked, and the supervisor cannot understand what happened. Just with a single movement, all the hidden weapons were repelled, attracted, and neutralized. The students ask what they just witnessed, unable to believe all the weapons were stopped with one swing. Then, our protagonist takes off his blindfold and asks if he passed. Students watch the supervisor, who is distracted by his thoughts, until they shout to get his attention. The supervisor coughs and admits our boy passed. He tells him he may go to the manor and rest. As Yeonmyoung flips his dagger, the supervisor thinks a monster seems to have appeared. Mirio, meanwhile, is annoyed and jealous, so she shouts, asking if he plans to leave his team behind to enjoy comfort alone. The Chad ignores her. He looks straight ahead with a smile and wonders aloud if the manor offers different meals as well. Naturally, the students are further annoyed seeing him tease them like this. The supervisor thinks it is good that the other team members haven't lost motivation, but he feels the battle for the clan leader position is already decided before the competition even begins. Maybe this kid is the one. Suddenly, our boy stops walking, turns around, and reminds his instructor to include meat with every meal because he needs to eat well to grow. Later, a pack of wolves descends upon the carcass of a dead bear, eager to feast. However, the moment they sink their teeth into the meat, they begin to cough violently, blood spurting from their mouths as they collapse, foaming at the mouth. At that moment, from the shadows, a student lunges forward and finishes them off. After dealing with the wolves, the group rests inside a cave for the night. Yuri is delighted that the paralysis poison she prepared worked perfectly. Ijun also agrees, noting that if she continues performing like this, they should be fine. Additionally, Mirio compliments him, saying his poison-making skills are impressive, and his rainstorm technique is not ordinary either. All three sit around the fire with gloomy faces, waiting for the meat to cook. While waiting, Yuri reflects that it has already been 4 months. She recalls how on their first day, they were preoccupied with running away, and their first encounter was with a bear. She laments that they could not even find prey initially and had to survive on grass roots while shedding tears. Eventually, however, they succeeded in hunting and finding shelter. Suddenly, Ijun wonders aloud if Yeonmyeong is living comfortably by now. The mere mention of Yeonmyeong's name triggers Mirio, who shouts at him not to bring that guy up. Ijun admits he is just curious. She swears that once he goes to the manor, he will get what he deserves. Internally, though, Ijun thinks differently. Considering the performance Yeonmyeong showed earlier, he wonders just how strong he must have become if he has continued training all this time. Just then, Mirio notices something wrong and asks where their meat went. They turn to the fire, only to find the skewers empty. It turns out Yuri has already consumed every bit of it. She burps loudly, satisfied with the meal, and, noticing their death glares, asks why they are looking at her like that. Naturally, Mirio and Ijun explode in rage, screaming at her for asking such an obvious question. Meanwhile, at the Gangdong Mountain 7-Lock Phantom Dome Formation stronghold, Yeonmyeong stands in the center of the training grounds, encircled by dozens of armed warriors. Instructor Woojin gives the order to begin, and immediately, 2 warriors rush at him from different sides. Yeonmyeong lands a swift kick on one, but while he is momentarily distracted, the rest of the group lunges with their weapons. However, he sees every micro-movement. Before their blades can reach him, he vanishes. The warriors are shocked, looking around in confusion until suddenly, Yeonmyeong appears above them in mid-air, wearing rings on all 10 fingers. He declares it is time to test his new technique. He crosses his hands, eyes glowing green. Then, as the warriors brace themselves, Yeonmyeong throws all 10 rings downward. The warriors are confused by the scattered weapons, but suddenly the rings transform in mid-air. They turn into sharp circular spinning blades, attacking before anyone can react. Yeonmyeong commands them to spin, and consequently, the rings move in a wild, chaotic pattern, executing the whirling line frenzy dance. Instructor Woojin watches in disbelief and realizes that Yeonmyeong neutralized the trained members in an instant. Moreover, he controlled the power of such a wide-range attack to only nick everyone's skin, avoiding fatal injuries. Woojin approaches, holding one of the rings, and asks if Yeonmyeong created this technique himself. Yeonmyeong confirms it, naming the move Whirling Line Frenzy Dance. Woojin is impressed. After all, it would be nearly impossible to escape if caught in that radius. Not to mention, maintaining such a technique must consume a massive amount of internal energy, so it's baffling how he even managed it. In response, Yeonmyeong explains that he once asked for the manual on eye techniques. Woojin nods, recalling there were the piercing sky eyes and the current flow eyes. He remembers recommending the piercing sky eyes because the other technique was known to be incomplete, but Yeonmyeong reveals that he has mastered the current flow eyes. Needless to say, Woojin is stunned. He thinks to himself that the current flow eyes is one of the oldest techniques of the Tang family, yet this outsider mastered it. Yeonmyeong explains that although the essence was missing, he realized the technique was part of an ascendant martial art. By using the current flow eyes, he can see the perfect trajectory, allowing him to shoot the weapons precisely with minimal internal energy usage. At this point, nothing surprises Woojin anymore. He admits that Yeonmyeong filled in the missing essence by exploring on his own. Changing the subject, Woojin mentions that in 2 months, the kids from his team will arrive to undergo the same test. He reveals that they have already proven they have the skill to take the test, but they insisted on returning only after they were more polished. Yeonmyeong smiles as he finds it interesting. He is genuinely excited to see how strong those friends have become. Watching him walk away, Woojin wonders if Yeonmyeong was actually worried about his teammates. Meanwhile, Yeonmyeong looks up at the sky, thinking about fate. In his past life, his only connection was his master, the Sword Ghost. Now, despite his origins and actions, new connections are forming, creating what could be considered part of an ordinary life. Because of this, he thinks of his team members, realizing that for some reason, he wants to see them too. Back in the cave, the chaotic battle continues as Mirio and Ijun scold Yuri for eating all the meat. Finally, 2 months later, the team is ready to advance to the next stage. They are pumped up as they walk toward the stronghold. Mirio reflects that on the first day of training, they were just novices, but now they have attained a completely different level of power. In fact, Ijon admits he is actually excited to meet Yeon Mayong again, while Yuri grumbles that she will split his head in half. From behind, the rest of the trainees look at the trio, whispering that they are pretty scary. The team then enters the hall of the Gangdong Mountain stronghold. Mirio shouts at the top of her lungs, demanding Tang Yeon Myong to come out right now. However, the hall is silent. Mirio looks around, wondering why it is so quiet, and she laughs, asking if he ran away out of fear. Yuri clicks her tongue, saying it is too bad because she wanted to smash his head. Mirio turns around, yelling again that he has been too quiet, but suddenly she freezes. Yeon Myong is standing right behind her, casually resting a hand on her shoulder. He whispers that he was hiding to surprise them. He then smirks, asking exactly what they were planning to do to his head, calling them cuties. The 3 students stare in shock as our boy continues speaking. He asks if they were talking about smashing his head earlier, then jokingly wonders if they want to see the results of their training, or if he should attack first. In response, Mirio and Yuri both shout that they were just joking. Mirio bites her lip, thinking to herself. She realizes they didn't even notice him until they turned around, and consequently, she wonders if this is the difference in their skills, even after all the time spent in the forest sharpening their senses. Our hero suddenly hugs Yuri, catching Mirio's attention. She studies him, wondering what he has done during this time. At that moment, she notices Yeonmyung has grown taller. His face looks different too. The girl blushes but quickly scolds herself, questioning why she is thinking this way. Our boy reassures her not to be discouraged, explaining that even from his perspective, they've become much stronger than before. However, he adds that they just seem less impressive because he is there. Because of this, the 3 look irritated, thinking his annoying self-confidence never changes. Meanwhile, inside the hall at the round table, instructor Jagal Changshin calls everyone to gather. He asks if there was anyone of note in their groups, to which one instructor mentions participant number 2, saying she has shown notable growth compared to others. He explains that, rather than a will to become stronger, she seems to be burning with immense hatred for someone and feeds on that emotion. Another instructor brings up participant number 10, who passed the warrior test in just a month. Meanwhile, Changshin thinks to himself. He admits number 2 and number 10 stand out. However, after facing number 28, Yeonmyung, they seem ordinary. He recalls how shocked he was when our protagonist broke out of the formation and demonstrated skills that even masters could not perform. Nevertheless, Changshin decides recruiting number 28 is too risky because the boy seems to have noticed his scheming. When an instructor asks if Changshin is alright, Changshin lies, claiming his group did not have anyone outstanding. He decides to exclude number 28 from the discussion since they need a puppet they can control. Instead, he suggests recruiting number 2. He plans to introduce her to his nephew, mentioning that he heard number 2 has a disfigured face from an injury, so it should not be difficult to manipulate her heart. Changshin explains his plan. If they help this child win and engage her to his nephew, the Jegal family will officially become the external family of the Tang family head. Eventually, they will merge the Tang family with their main house. With that, he concludes the meeting. While walking out, Changshin thinks to himself that number 28 is too valuable to lose. That's why he decides that if our hero survives the competition, he will tempt him with revenge, adopt him as a son, and offer him the position of Jegal family young clan leader. Sometime later, inside the manor, Mirio feels happy. Although their training has doubled, nothing matches the comfort of a good night's sleep. She turns to Yuri and asks if Ijon and Yeonmyung went to the lab today. Yuri responds positively, adding that Ijon stormed in there, grinding his teeth and vowing to kill. Inside the lab, Ijon smirks. He holds up a vial and says this is the poison he put his whole soul into making. Suddenly, our guy takes the bowl of poison and drinks it straight away. Ijon goes haywire, asking why he drank that much. He calls him a maniac and shakes Yeonmyung violently until our hero feels like he is going to faint from the shaking. Foam forms in his mouth, but then our boy burps right in Ijon's face. Ijon falls to the ground in shock, while our protagonist feels immune to the poison. He smirks, asking if the poison is weaker than expected. Because of this, Ijon almost starts crying, shouting that it is a poison that could melt his insides and wonders why he is still okay. Our guy teases him, suggesting maybe his poison just isn't that good. Naturally, this makes Ijon furious. He screams, questioning why our hero isn't dying. Outside the door, Mirio and Yuri listen to the shouting and guess it isn't working. Afterwards, our boy drinks another bowl. Ijon tells him not to drink poison like it is booze, but our protagonist asks if there is more because it doesn't affect him at all. Ijon slams his fist in anger, wondering if our hero is immune to everything. In the meantime, Yeonmyung wipes his lips and thinks. He knows it is different from being immune. Rather, it is the Tang family core technique, the poison refining madness. He believes that if they are named poison masters, they should be able to control even the poisons that enter them. As expected, the poisons that entered his body transformed into internal energy. That is why, within a certain limit, poisons are no different from an elixir for our boy. However, he knows this state can only be achieved through deep understanding. He realizes that weak poisons hardly increase his internal energy now, so he needs stronger ones. He thinks about the dangers ahead. Yeonmyung knows he cannot guarantee victory if the Black Death Alliance or the Heaven's Brilliant Demon Lord were to invade. He has no personal grudge against the Black Death Alliance, but since they divided Sichuan City, he cannot ignore them. Their leader is called a genius who destroyed 3 of the 9 factions. Therefore, to live as a human, our boy needs to become as strong as he was in his previous life. Ijun, exhausted, mutters that if only he could create the Tang family's 10 poisons. Our hero turns and asks what he just said, so Ijun explains that the 10 poisons are the strongest poisons passed down from their ancestors. He says the higher the number, the stronger the poison. However, most formulas were lost to time. He mentions that the 10th poison was so potent that even masters of the transcendent level were affected. Yeonmyoung is shocked, thinking that a poison that affects transcendent level masters is worth coveting. He asks Ijun if he can prepare the 10th poison, but Ijun argues it is impossible because the formula is lost. Our guy feels sad because Ijun's current poison doesn't even give him a sensation anymore. This pisses Ijun off, and he warns that the 10th poison is so dangerous it is forbidden, saying even our boy wouldn't survive drinking it. Meanwhile, at night, participant number 2 fights a man who chokes her neck. Black fumes come from the man's mouth as he asks what she did to him. He coughs and fire emits from his mouth. Then she asks him to repeat it. She mocks his face as fire erupts from his eyes and mouth. He shouts and lunges toward her, but before he can reach her, his hand breaks like a piece of stone. He falls to the ground and completely shatters. She smirks, noting he was burned to ashes in an instant. In addition, she marvels at the power of the poison given by her grandfather, revealing that this is the Tang family's 10th poison. She touches her disfigured face, saying the pain she experienced that day is unforgettable. Once again, she vows to keep wasting this rage and pain. She flips her hair away from her eyes, revealing she is Tang Young Ryong. Finally, with a smirk, she promises to torment Yeonmyoung plenty in the goo poison match. The next day, the supervisor, Tang Woojin, addresses the team. He notes that another year has passed since their training, and explains that, up to this point, he has been refining their martial arts. But the real challenge begins today. Specifically, he announces that they will decide on a team leader. The students look shocked, so Woojin clarifies that they will appoint a temporary leader for now. However, by the 3rd year, they will officially elect a leader to represent them in the goo poison match. He adds that, since it is a life or death battle, the most outstanding participant should lead. After hearing this, Yuri notes that not all participants go to the goo match, and Mirio realizes this means the latecomers will die. She says the choice should be based on achievements, and consequently points to participant 28, Tang Yeonmyoung. Ijun agrees, stating our boy is the leading contender, so the supervisor asks if there are any objections. Everyone remains silent. Then, the supervisor calls number 28 forward to accept the reward. He presents a small chest containing a pill, explaining that it is the Heavenly Heart Pill, an elixir made from 100-year-old ginseng that significantly increases internal energy. The other members are shocked that such a precious item is given to Yeonmyoung. The supervisor explains it is a privilege for the team leader because the Tang family has high expectations for them. Internally, however, he believes his expectations for Yeonmyoung are even higher. Our protagonist asks if there is anything else, at which Woojin looks confused. Our boy then asks if he can receive something other than the elixir, because he doesn't need it. Naturally, this angers the other members. They shout at him, asking if he knows its worth and telling him to hand it over if he won't eat it. The supervisor thinks refusing an elixir is unlikely unless someone's internal energy is already full, so he asks what Yeonmyoung wants instead. Our hero replies that he wants the Tang family's 10 poisons. Later, the team gathers in Yeonmyoung's room, staring at a pile of weapons. Mirio asks if this is all he bought and demands to know where the elixir is. Holding a blade, our boy explains he couldn't get the poisons, so he took these instead. Mirio tries to punch him, but he dodges, causing her to shout and call him a fool. Yuri says they should respect his choice, and Ijun adds that the elder will be pleased to save the pill. Our protagonist interrupts, revealing he hasn't returned the pill yet. The scene shifts hours earlier. The supervisor hands the weapons to our boy, asking if he is sure. Our hero says he regrets not getting the poison, but this is sufficient. When the supervisor asks if he needs anything else, our boy asks what the plan is for the returned pill. The supervisor says it goes back to the medicine hall, but our hero suggests an idea. If the team members combine forces to defeat the temporary leader, they should get the pill. The supervisor agrees, thinking it is good motivation. Back in the present, our boy finishes explaining, and then he tells them to challenge him anytime before the goo poison match. Immediately, the team members sprint outside to get their weapons, shouting that Tang Yeonmyoung is done for. Watching them go, our protagonist resolves not to go easy on them. In fact, he decides that if he becomes the young clan leader, he will ensure everyone gets a Heavenly Heart pill. Afterwards, he walks outside to sort out the pecking order. Seasons pass, and the team has grown a lot. In the middle of a fight, our boy hits Ijun away and asks how many times Ijun has lost. Ijun replies about 173 times. Mirio asks if our hero ever gets tired, while Yuri admits she gave up fighting long ago and just lives to see Yeonmyoung's face. Mirio blushes and agrees it is fun to watch him. Finally, our boy extends a hand to Ijun, stating that since Ijun accepted defeat, our boy will take the position. Ijun takes his hand, saying he cannot imagine Yeonmyoung losing to other teams. The supervisor then approaches and praises their growth, formally appointing participant number 28 as the team leader. He announces that the actual goo poison match begins tomorrow. He notes other teams suffered deaths and disqualifications. However, compared to them, Group 7 is safe and has achieved growth comparable to the Bongui Brigade. He warns them one last time, explaining that in the goo poison match, the use of extreme poison except for the 10 poisons is allowed. Therefore, he tells them to maximize their capabilities. The next day, Ijon hands a box of poisons to our protagonist. He warns that the elixir-suppressed fairy poison is lethal in a single drop and explains the ocular poison. Suddenly, he stops himself from worrying too much and asks our boy to promise he will win. Ijon extends his fist, and our hero holds it, says yes, and playfully punches him in the face. He promises that only his teammates could ever harm him, then teleports to the ground, saying he is off. Meanwhile, Tang Young Ryong holds a container of poison, declaring that the day has finally come. She feels lucky to have the 10 poisons and a new ally. Afterwards, she enters a portal and finds instructor Jegal Changshin waiting. She asks how the Jegal family plans to assist her, and the instructor says the arena uses his family's formation, so moving her to a good position is easy. Ryong asks what they want in return, and the instructor admits his family is powerless and wants to join forces with the Tang family without losing sovereignty. Ryong realizes he wants to use her as a backer to intervene in clan matters, so she asks what happens if she rejects them later. The instructor says that is why he is building trust now. Once they finish discussing the deal, Ryong looks happy. She thinks she endured 3 years for this moment, and consequently, she vows to kill Yeonmyung and take back her life. Elsewhere, Team 3 participant, Tang Gukrin, stands covered in blood. He holds a sword and looks disappointed, complaining that the Tang family's military force was all talk. Behind him, the bodies of the warriors who tried to train him lie dead. Finally, our boy arrives at the location. He looks around and thinks it is the perfect day for someone to die. With that, the goo poison match begins. Our boy stands on top of the cliff, looking down at the vast goo poison match arena. He notes the area is huge, so he realizes it might take a while to find anyone. Meanwhile, through magic, Instructor Jegal Changshin watches our protagonist from a distance. As expected from Group 7, number 28 has appeared. He feels that our boy's potential is being wasted, but since the Jegal family made their choice, he decides to eliminate him quickly before any variables arise. Suddenly, Changshin is shocked. He sees our guy looking directly at him through the magical observation. He isn't sure how that is possible, given that his vision is hidden behind many layers of formations. Without hesitation, our boy slashes the empty air with his sword, and he cuts the formation's connection. He had felt an unpleasant gaze and suspected it was the Jegal family. He remembers Supervisor Woojin saying no one should interfere in the match, yet our hero realizes they have been meddling since the start. Because of this, he decides to let them try whatever they want. He then jumps off the cliff, planning to question them after the match ends. Back inside the room, Changshin pants heavily. He is terrified. He thinks about how he was surrounded by several layers of formations, yet the boy recognized him. He realizes that if he hadn't quickly withdrawn his sight, he would have gone blind. Moreover, he saw the boy's swordsmanship cut through the space of the formation itself. He frankly admits he has never seen such a skill level. Changshin realizes this is a miscalculation. Number 28 is not someone they can handle. As a result, his eyes turn red as he decides they must stop the boy by any means necessary, fearing revenge. Meanwhile, a girl runs through the forest, panting and bleeding. She doesn't want to die, and she regrets joining the competition. She only wanted to achieve a decent result to help her poor parents. That is why she plans to surrender and withdraw immediately. However, she suddenly runs into Tang Gukrin. He is covered in blood and standing over many dead bodies. He looks at her and says it is a good time for a gathering. The girl tries to run away, thinking she just wants to surrender, but Tang Gukrin appears behind her instantly. She is willing to surrender to anyone and leave the Tang family, yet Tang Gukrin mocks her. He asks what she just said about him becoming the clan leader and insults her. She talked big but didn't last long. Furthermore, he mocks her lightness technique and calls her internal energy pathetic. She shouts at him, asking why he is going this far since they are all from the Tang family. In response, Tang Gyokrin smirks and rests his sword on her shoulder. The guy doesn't give a damn if his words are hurtful. Not to mention, he never once thought of himself as a person of the Sichuan Tang family. With an easy swipe, he cuts her neck in one go. Meanwhile, our boy runs across the ground. He stops when he sees a cave. That's exactly what he needed. Since there is no human presence, there is no risk of being found. He enters the cave, noting that nothing is alerting his senses, so he decides to quickly ascend to the transcendence level here. He sits deep in the cave and thinks that since his body has grown, there shouldn't be any side effects. He starts gathering energy around his abdomen, combining his enlightenment with the internal energy he built up from drinking Ijon's poisons. Suddenly, our boy's body bursts with immense energy. He destroys the barrier on his meridians, and his internal energy explodes with force. Usually, martial artists feel tremendous pain as joints break and reattach, literally rebirthing into a new body. However, since our protagonist is experiencing this for the second time, it is not difficult for him. His eyes glow green, while his whole body shakes with energy. Finally, he finishes the process. He wipes the sweat from his face and wonders if it was wise to cleanse his meridians of impurities right now. He complains about the smell of filth but says it feels good. Afterwards, our boy emerges from the cave and stands in front of the cliff. He decides to test his power, so he raises his hand and points 2 fingers forward. An invisible force strikes the stones, and the cave shatters. Our protagonist smirks, thinking the efficiency of his internal energy is not bad, and he decides to start moving properly. Elsewhere, Tang Gukren stands in front of a tree with his bloodied sword. He complains that this is boring and asks the person on the ground what they have been doing for 3 years. John Gill lies on the ground, completely beaten, as he clenches his teeth. He curses his luck for meeting this guy. He recalls the rumor that Tang Gukren is an orphan raised like a grandson by the Grand Elder and is monstrously strong. John Gill thought he had a chance if he struck first, but he couldn't even touch his collar. Now he realizes he is going to die. However, he suddenly thinks of Tang Yeonmyeong. The thought that he didn't run into our hero actually eases his mind, and he starts laughing. Tang Gukren asks why he is laughing in this situation. John Gill releases a breath and says he just thought of someone scarier than Gukren. Naturally, Tang Gukren feels insulted. He says he will have to make himself even scarier and decides to share a secret since John Gill is dying anyway. He reveals he is actually a spy from the Black Death Alliance, stating he is from the Great Darkness Silent Sword Sect, and his real name is Mak Inguk. He raises his sword to slaughter John Gill, but just then, Mak freezes. He feels something strange in his nerves and cannot move, so he wonders what is going on. From the side, our boy enters. He says he felt a presence and came to check, then looks at the boy on the ground and says it is a familiar face. Finally, he asks John Gill if he is healed from the last time they fought, but John Gill, confused, asks who he is. The scene shifts to the past, where a young boy stands before an elderly man. The boy asks if the man wants him to become a spy for the Sichuan Tang family, and the elder says yes. He tells the boy that with his talent, pretending to be an orphan for a few days should attract someone to take him in. He further explains that the Tang family soon will start the young clan leader competition to weaken their ranks. So if the boy returns after completing the mission, everyone in the family will acknowledge him. Back in the present, Mak lies on the ground, completely bruised. He bites his lip and feels like his insides are dissolving, consequently wondering what our boy did to him. Our guy walks toward John Gill, who stares at him and asks if he is really Yeonmyeong. Our protagonist asks if he needs to slam John Gill's face into the ground again to prove it, causing John Gill to hesitate before confirming it is really him. Yeonmyeong points at Tang Gukren and asks if that guy confessed to being a spy, to which John Gill shouts yes. Our hero realizes this spy was the tail he sensed before entering the mountain. Therefore, he decides to capture him first. He proceeds to remove a poison needle from Tang Gukren's neck, leaving John Gill shocked. He asks if our protagonist coated the needle with poison, and marvels that such a small needle caused such a reaction. John Gill suggests they should detoxify the spy and interrogate him about his position, but our boy refuses. You see, if the spy is from a dark faction like the Black Death Alliance, his motives are clear, so there is no need to heal him. John Gill looks at our hero and remarks that he has changed a lot, adding that Yeonmyeong seems unfazed by everything. Suddenly, John Gill bows and sincerely apologizes for the bad blood between them in the past. Our guy smiles and tells him to forget it because he doesn't dwell on the past. However, John Gill suddenly shouts a warning. Behind Yeonmyeong, Tang Gukren leaps up for a final attack, screaming that he will take them with him to death. Tang Gukren dashes down, but our protagonist vanishes. Tang Gukren lands on empty ground, confused, while our hero appears behind the spy. He says he usually doesn't spare a dying man, but since Tang Gukren insisted on attacking, he will erase him without a trace. Our boy puts a hand on Tang Gukren's shoulder and asks if it wouldn't be better to have no corpse to clean up later. Tang Gukren's eyes fill with tears as he thinks our boy is ruthless. He collapses and dies instantly. John Gill watches in awe, thinking it is overwhelming. He knows the spy was a top contender using the Great Darkness Silent Sword technique, yet our hero defeated him effortlessly. Yeonmyeong looks at John Gill and asks what he is going to do now that it is just the two of them. John Gill says he will surrender, but he doesn't know the way out. Our boy swipes his dagger in midair, cutting open a hole in the formation, then tells John Gill to leave and says there is no need for a send-off. John Gill thanks him for sparing his life, and then our protagonist vanishes. John Gill smiles and wishes him luck. Meanwhile, at the Dark Moon Sword Sect headquarters, the Elder holds a shattered spiritual bead. He wonders what in the world is happening, realizing the bead implanted in his youngest son has broken, meaning his son is dead. He thinks about his son, born a servant, but more talented than anyone. To protect the boy from his jealous wife, he sent him to live as a spy in the Tang family. Because of this, the Elder clenches his fists in rage. He feels he hasn't done much as a father, so he vows to settle this grudge. He shouts orders for all disciples to prepare for departure to Gangdong Mountain, deciding the time to bring down the Tang family is near. He declares that no one bearing the Tang surname will return alive. Back at the mountain, it is night. Our boy eats his meal before a fire, but he feels something is off. He has run day and night but hasn't seen a soul, so he realizes it doesn't make sense unless the formation has been manipulated to prevent people from approaching him. He deduces that the remaining survivor must be working with the Jegal family, and scoffs at their arrogant plan to increase influence within the Tang family. Our boy lies on the ground looking at the moon, thinking the night sky is beautiful, and wishing he could show it to his mother. He wonders how she is doing, then falls asleep. However, Tang Young Ryong is hiding nearby, She sees him sleeping and is happy she finally found someone. She recalls that she requested to meet the last survivor, and she looks at our protagonist, thinking he is handsome. She wonders if he is Instructor Jagal's nephew and decides it's a pity about his face, but he has to die. With that, she swallows a pill and releases a bottle of poisonous smoke, spreading the incense poison around him. She dips her knife into poison and tells the sleeping boy not to resent her. She raises the knife to strike, but suddenly our hero speaks. He asks if she is sure she is prepared, then grabs her neck before she can move. Ryong coughs as he lifts her into the air. Our boy asks if she is the one cooperating with the Jegal family, accusing her of hiding in a safe place while others fight. He demands to know what deal she made. Ryong clenches her teeth in shock, realizing he knew she was coming, but our protagonist tells her to answer quickly if she wants to breathe. Taeyoung Ryong regrets dropping her blade in panic, realizing it is now too far away to retrieve. Our boy looks at her and suddenly realizes who she is. He knows she is Taeyoung Ryong, leaving the girl shocked and wondering how he knows her name. Well, after all the trouble she caused him, how could he forget? In fact, he asks if he should disfigure her entire face this time. Meanwhile, inside the control room, Instructor Jagal Changshin is frustrated. He thinks his plan has completely failed because number 28 cut through the formation, making it difficult to see clearly. Changshin notes that number 10 was swiftly eliminating competitors, but number 28 killed him instantly. Consequently, Changshin realizes that if number 2 Ryong faces number 28 now, she will lose. He worries that if number 28 wins, the Jegal family's plans will be ruined. Suddenly, he senses a massive amount of energy entering the formation. He looks closer and sees an entire army from the Dark Moon Sword Sect. The Dark Moon Sect leader, Jung Yeonsong, speaks with Mok Inhu, noting they have brought over 300 troops, including elders and disciples. He asks if using full force against the newcomers of the Tang family is going too far, but Mok Inhu insists it is necessary. Since Gangdong Mountain is so close to their territory, they must crush the Tang family completely. He claims that if their forces were fewer, they would be defeated. Yeonsong agrees but asks about the spy. Visibly frustrated, Mok Inhu says the spy failed, mentioning it was someone he cherished. With that, he orders everyone to stop chatting and move out. Changshin watches all of this through the formation and wonders why the Dark Moon Sect leader is here. He realizes there must have been a spy and considers reporting this to the Bongwi Brigade for action. However, he pauses and a smile appears on his face. He realizes that if he allows the intruders to kill number 28, his plan remains undiscovered, and the Tang family will never know the Jegal family was involved. That is why he decides to let the invaders in. Back in the forest, our protagonist holds Ryong by her neck. She clenches her teeth, only now realizing he is Myong, and she curses herself for failing to recognize him. While she looks for a chance to use her hidden weapon, our boy glances at her dropped blade. He asks if the red substance on it is poison, noting he has never seen such a bright red poison before. Ryong thinks he is distracted, so she pulls a bottle from behind her back and tries to throw it at him. However, our protagonist catches her hand midair. He scolds her for making useless attempts instead of answering, then takes the bottle from her hand and asks if it is the same poison as the one on the blade. When Ryong refuses to speak, our boy throws her to the ground and grabs her face. He asks if they should revisit the old days, causing Ryong to shout for him to let her go. Our boy tells her to open her mouth, but she refuses, saying she hates it and promising to talk. Nevertheless, our protagonist starts moving the bottle toward her mouth, saying she might as well taste it to know what kind of poison it is. She screams in terror and finally confesses. She reveals it is called Fire Dragon Poison, one of the Tang family's 10 poisons. Our boy pauses because he remembers that the 10 poisons should not be used recklessly. He is thrilled to find out it is genuine, thinking this is an elixir for him, and that letting her consume it would be a waste. Ryong begs him to let her go since she confessed, even offering to surrender or help him fight the other participants. Our protagonist ignores her and squeezes her face tighter, stating he hasn't heard the full answer yet. He demands to know if she is cooperating with the Jegal family and what promises were made, threatening to force-feed her the poison if she hesitates. Ryong immediately spits out the truth. She admits they proposed a marriage alliance and explains that the Jegal family wants to merge with the Tang family to guarantee loyalty. Our boy understands. He realizes the Jegal family plans to secure their status by marrying the future young clan leader. He then assumes Ryong eagerly accepted the proposal. Suddenly, our protagonist drinks the poison without hesitation. Ryong shouts in horror, asking what he is doing, but our boy says he won't give it to her no matter how she looks at him. Ryong is terrified, thinking that even a body of invulnerability cannot withstand the 10 poisons. She watches him, expecting him to burn to death, but our boy simply burps and says it tastes like strawberries. Suddenly his whole body bursts into flames. Ryong watches in awe, but she notices his grip shows no sign of weakening. Soon the fire disappears, and our protagonist returns to normal. He comments that it suddenly became very spicy, leaving Ryong horrified and nearly in tears. She realizes this is impossible unless he has reached the legendary state of a poisoner, immune to all poisons and able to kill with a single breath. She remembers her grandfather mentioning such a realm and asks if he is a poisoner. Our boy grips her face even tighter, annoyed that she really intended to take his life with her murderous intent. After defeating her, he looks at his fiery hand. He senses that the energy from the poison refining madness has changed after absorbing the fire dragon poison. He feels like he has mastered the martial art of both yin and yang. He thanks Ryong, remarking that he gained something valuable. Suddenly our protagonist looks up. he notices a huge light in the sky, as if the sun has risen in the middle of the night, and he feels the wind blowing faster. He has no clue what is happening. Realizing this isn't the competition ending, he senses unfamiliar presences, dozens, perhaps more than 300 people, and consequently realizes something is wrong. He deduces that the Jagal family must have noticed such a large group, meaning they deliberately let the intruders inside the formation to cause a massacre. Our protagonist holds his poison needles and smirks, thinking having practice targets come to him is a stroke of luck. Finally, he declares that in the goo poison match, he is the only one meant to survive. The instructor reports the situation to the supervisor. Hearing this, he shouts in disbelief, demanding to know what he just said about intruders. Changshin confirms that it appears there was a spy among them, so Wanjin demands to know if they have identified the enemy and how large their force is. Changshin pretends to be unsure but mentions there are over 300 troops led by the Dark Moon sect leader. Naturally, Wanjin is horrified. He wonders why the Dark Moon sect is here and how they found the place hidden by the 7-lock Phantom Dome formation. Consequently, he decides they must hurry to stop them. Changshin acts concerned, claiming he never expected this. He explains that the intruders have entered the inner world where the goo poison match is taking place. Furthermore, he reminds Wanjin that they made it impossible for themselves to intervene inside the formation. Therefore, they have no choice but to rely on the remaining clan kids to survive on their own. Inside the formation, our boy stands tall, surrounded by countless dead bodies. Looking back to a few moments ago, Mak Inhu stands over the dead body of Tang Gukrin. He regrets that his youngest child couldn't even die a normal death because of the poison. Meanwhile, Yunsong confirms they have entered correctly. He notes the body has needle marks and clear signs of a one-sided struggle. Mak Inhu shouts to his troops, ordering them to search thoroughly and find the Tang family rats. He commands them to report immediately upon discovery and declares that no one from the Tang family will survive. Immediately after, one group departs to search the area. A disciple asks his master if the leader seems troubled today, noting he usually displays killing intent openly. The master suspects the body they saw might have been the spy planted by the leader. In addition, the master notes the only injury was a needle mark on the neck, which is confusing unless the needle was coated with instant death poison. He warns his disciple that the Tang family targets life itself, regardless of martial prowess. Therefore, he tells the disciple to be careful of hidden weapons. The disciple agrees to keep it in mind, but suddenly a needle strikes his neck and he falls to the ground instantly. The master is confused, wondering where the attack came from. He alerts everyone, shouting it is an ambush and ordering them to draw their swords. He yells at the attacker to come out honorably and warns his disciples not to let their guards down. Suddenly, another man shouts for the master to look above. From the sky, countless needles descend like rain. The troops cannot deflect them and are hit all over. Our boy stands among the chaos, smiling, as he believes the single palm blazing poison technique is exceptionally lethal against mere foot soldiers. He raises his hand and uses the steam technique to retrieve all the poison needles back to himself. He notes that this combination uses very little internal energy. Afterwards, our protagonist faces the pile of dead bodies and decides to look for the group that went east next. Elsewhere, a man brings news to Mak Inhu. Mak Inhu asks if everyone is dead, and the man confirms it. He reports there were no external injuries, only needle marks, meaning they were killed with extreme poison just like the first corpse. Soon, another man reports from the western lookout that everyone there has been annihilated. Even worse, the report from the east is the same. Mak Inhu realizes no group has survived. Yunsong points out it has been just over an hour, and nearly 100 men have fallen to the same method. He suggests this could be the deed of just one person. Mak Inhu thinks that if there were many enemies, it would be horrific, but this is clearly a master from the Tang family. Because of this, he feels like they are being hunted. He orders Yunsong to take command while he personally prepares for the ambush. Yunsong asks if that is alright, but Mak Inhu claims he cannot afford to lose more disciples and entrusts the rest to Yunsong. Yunsong leads the remaining troops across a river, noting the eerie silence and lack of presence. He realizes that with the sun setting, night will fall soon. He worries that if they don't find the ambusher by then, they might be annihilated. That is why he decides it is better to withdraw and regroup before the damage escalates. He turns to the troops and announces they will leave in an hour. Suddenly, a voice asks who decided that. Above a tree, our protagonist sits casually. He says he wasn't planning on letting them go. Yunsong clenches his teeth, having no clue when the boy appeared since he felt nothing. Before Yunsong can even react, all his troops behind him collapse, pierced by needles. He cannot believe they died without a moment to sense the attack. Our boy jumps down and walks toward Yunsong, who realizes this young boy is the root cause of the massacre. He wonders how a boy could use such high-level techniques. He sees the needles returning to our protagonist, and consequently suspects it might be void absorption, a technique only high masters can use. However, seeing our hero retrieve the needles instead of attacking again, Yunsong guesses the technique consumes a lot of internal energy. He calls our boy arrogant for coming forward instead of using surprise. Yunsong smirks and says he never heard of a young master like him in the Tang family. In response, our boy puts the needles in his pocket. He says it doesn't matter if Yunsong has heard of him because a man destined to die today doesn't need to know his name. Naturally, Yunsong gets angry. His veins bulge from his skin as he shouts that the young man is in a hurry to die. He powers up, tearing his clothes as his body size increases. Then he shouts and throws a massive punch to smash our boy against a wall, but our protagonist blocks the punch with his palm. As the energies clash, Yeonsong is shocked that his maximum power was simply blocked. Our guy smirks and says surely this isn't his maximum power. Finally, he tells Yeonsong he will give him time, so he should try to raise it to the real maximum. In the past of Yeonsong, after the Spearpoint sect, one of the 9 factions, fell to the Black Death Alliance, Yeonsong willingly joined them. On the day he met the Alliance leader, his specialty, the peak-shaking staff technique, was transformed. The Alliance leader told him the name was too weak and renamed it the Heavenly Quick Palm. However, a youngster is now besting that technique. Back in the present, our protagonist deflects Yeonsong's fist. As they clash, Yeonsong grows unsettled by the calm expression on our boy's face. Our hero meanwhile reflects on his power. He knows that fire dragon venom contains the breath of a fire dragon. When one controls this venom with a venomous aura, it creates a force similar to sword force. While sword force cuts through anything, venom force soaks into everything. Our guy opens his eyes, which glow red like a fire dragon. Because of this, Yeonsong struggles to deflect the power, clenching his teeth and wondering what this incredible yang energy is. Our hero then uses the burning glaze technique. The heat is so intense that Yeonsong's body instantly turns into hard coal, and he falls to the ground, dead. Mayong thinks that venom imbued with heat should be called fiery demon force. Afterwards, he asks the troops who want to burn to death next. The troops are frightened because their leader died so easily. Our protagonist tells them that since he has no intention of letting them live, they should just die quickly. Suddenly, the Dark Moon Sect leader, Mak Inhu, steps forward. He draws his sword and shouts in rage, accusing our boy of killing his youngest son, the spy, and swearing that our boy won't even leave ashes behind. Mak Inhu orders his troops to spread out and use the Charyun formation to surround him. Immediately, the troops surround Mayong from all directions. They warn each other to be wary of poison and hidden weapons while Mak Inhu thinks about his losses. He feels the pain of losing so many disciples and his son. Therefore, he decides our guy must be eliminated, so their sacrifices aren't in vain. Our boy looks around and thinks the Charyun formation reminds him of training. Back then, he used the whirling chaos dance, but he decides to test something different this time. Suddenly, our protagonist's figure becomes hazy. One opponent shouts that he disappeared and tells everyone to stay alert, yet they cannot catch his movements at all. Our protagonist moves among them, cutting them down one by one. Meanwhile, Mak Inhu cannot understand what is happening. He is shocked that he even missed our boy's movement, and wonders what our hero's true identity is. Mayong finally reappears. In response, one opponent shouts in anger and lunges at him for killing his brothers. Our boy raises his hand and says he will borrow their swords. By using the destruction principle, he shatters their swords into pieces using just his hand, without even touching the blades. The man calls him a monster, unable to believe our protagonist destroyed their swords without touching them. Our hero then uses the principle of dispersal to scatter the scraps of broken blades. After that, he controls the force to make them spin within a certain area, forming a tornado of metal shards. The opponent shouts in horror, thinking this is the legendary Tang family technique, the 10,000 heavenly flower rain. He screams that it is impossible. Suddenly, the tornado of shards hits the opponents, cutting them to pieces. The massacre is brutal. Our boy admits to himself that it doesn't match the power of the real 10,000 heavenly flower rain, but it is enough for lesser foes. That's why he names this technique the Iron Shard Volley. One by one, the bodies fall to the ground. Our protagonist looks at Mak Inhu and asks if it is finally Mak Inhu's turn to step in after using his men to exhaust our protagonist's strength. Ma Inhu is furious. He takes out both his swords and tells our hero not to get cocky, declaring that with the Taiyi twin sword technique and the silent sword technique bestowed by the alliance leader, he will grind Mayong to dust. Our boy smirks and calls it a death wish. Immediately, Mak Inhu dashes forward, shouting that he will crush him. Our boy simply lifts his small knife. Mak Inhu unleashes all his moves: Taiyi twin sword, silent sword 10 strike, and the art sorrel sword dance. However, every attack looks slow to our protagonist. He eventually gets bored and yawns, which irritates his opponent even more. The bastard attacks again with silent sword strike, but nothing puts even a scratch on our hero. In the end, Mak Inhu is exhausted and breathing heavily. He leans on his sword, unable to believe his technique failed against a simple knife. Our boy then interrupts him. He says he has some expertise in swordsmanship and quickly grasps the flow of Mak Inhu's attacks. Finally, our guy asks if the technique was supposed to be performed this way, and black fumes start coming from our hero's knife. Seeing this, Mak Inhu is terrified and asks how Mayong can wield the silent sword technique. Mayong explains the technique. Since the sword has such murderous energy, it was clearly made with the intention of killing. It doesn't have energy that is difficult to handle. Mak Inhu is confused and cannot digest this information. You see, this old man was only able to handle this little trick after mastering the ultimate twin sword technique. So seeing this brush it off nonchalantly doesn't make sense. Speaking of this technique, our boy remembers that the man he killed a few hours ago was also using this technique. He asks if that means Mak Inhu is part of the Dark Moon Sword Sect. Our boy admits he doesn't know much about them, but he knows they are under the Black Death Alliance. He explains that it is well known the Black Death Alliance transforms martial arts to suit the user, no matter what skills they originally had. That is why people forsake their former lives to join them. Mak Inhu asks what he is trying to say, so our hero replies that he is just disappointed over something as trivial as this technique. He says it is something anyone can imitate as long as they can handle murderous energy. Furthermore, he mocks Mak Inhu. Since the leaders bestowed this kind of martial art on him, they must not have had much faith in him. In response, Mak Inhu shouts curses at him, but our boy ignores him. Since Mak Inhu tried his best, he will show him true ability in return, warning him not to be too amazed. Green energy emits from Mayong's body as he explains that for those who have reached a transcendental level, blade length does not matter. Immediately, the blade of our boy's knife gleams green and starts to extend with light energy. The sight leaves Mak Inhu in utter shock. Our guy then uses the technique Blade Rival, slashing his knife with immense energy. The impact is so great that it cuts through the mountain and the forest, forming a huge depression in the earth. Afterwards, our protagonist wonders aloud if the damage is smaller because his body is not like before. Mak Inhu cannot understand what he is seeing, realizing there is no way a normal sword technique can do this. He realizes our protagonist handles the blade energy with ease and has reached the final stage. Suddenly, our boy asks with a murderous voice if that is important. Completely scared, Mak Inhu dashes away to dodge the attack. The boy finds this old coot annoying. He asks how Mak Inhu thinks he can get away by just running around. Everything will be over the moment he is caught. However, before slashing his blade again, Mayong stops. He decides that as a member of the Tang clan, it only makes sense to kill him the Tang clan way. With that, he puts his hand under his robe and takes out his rings. Mak Inhu runs desperately through the forest, thinking this cannot be. He wonders who in the world raised such a monster in the collapsing Tang clan. Suddenly, the rings fly toward Mak Inhu from behind, cutting trees and obstacles like tofu. Mak Inhu tries to deflect them, but their speed and cutting power terrify him. He realizes he cannot get rid of them by running and consequently must fight. He dodges and blocks, but the rings crack his sword and cut his body. Finally, his arm is cut. Mak Inhu stands bleeding but defiant, shouting if the boy is happy that he blocked them all. As long as he stays alive, he can plan for the future, assuming our boy wasted a lot of energy using that skill. But from the front, our boy walks in calmly. He asks if he should be complimenting Mak Inhu, who is shocked that the kid is not tired at all. With a flick of his finger, our boy calls out all his rings. They hover in the air and point toward Mak Inhu, leaving him to clench his teeth in shock. He wonders who this bastard is and regrets leaving everything behind to join the Black Death Alliance, only to be defeated by a boy he couldn't even hurt. Ultimately, Mak Inhu is completely defeated as the rings strike him down. The rings return to Myong's finger, happy that he caught everyone. He is also happy he gained something by experimenting with different techniques, thinking it would be nice to teach this to his people once he becomes the head. Then, he decides to leave. He has loose ends to tie up. The elder who drove his mother into a corner, and the Jegal family who plotted to take over the clan. He vows to set everything right, an eye for an eye. He immediately slashes his blade through the formation wall. Meanwhile, outside the formation, Supervisor Wanjin shouts if there is really no way to enter. Instructor Changshin apologizes, explaining that they made it impossible to intervene. He pretends he never expected the situation to become like this, and the other team members are worried. However, Changshin secretly has bad intentions. Since the entrance is sealed, no one can make it out alive. He knows the Dark Moon Sword Sect sent over 300 soldiers, and believes even number 28 will have a hard time coming back alive. Changshin thinks it is a waste of talent, but decides they cannot be caught getting in the way of the plan. He consoles himself, assuring him that the other candidates are the future of the clan anyway. But just then, the sky above the arena cracks. Something strange happens. Our boy cuts through the formation and walks out. The team members get excited. They knew they wouldn't lose that easily. Yuri runs over and hugs our protagonist, asking if he is hurt anywhere. Our boy jokes that until the competition is over, she is the only one who has hurt him. In the background, Changshin looks visibly tense. Instructor Jegal Changshin is terrified. As far as he is concerned, it is impossible that 300 soldiers couldn't deal with one young bastard. From the side, our boy notices Changshin's tense face, but Changshin quickly hides his expression. Meanwhile, John Gill waves at our protagonist, and Mayong smiles back. Changshin cannot believe it. He recalls how our protagonist cracked the 7-lock Phantom Dome formation earlier. Not to mention, the kid cut through a formation designed for battle as if it were nothing. He thinks our hero is a monster because normally, even a master would be caught in it. The boy turns to look at Changshin. Although he knows he could kill the instructor right now, he decides to wait until he becomes the head. Supervisor Wanjin smiles and says Myong is finally safe. Our boy bows and apologizes for causing worry, yet he thinks to himself that he will take care of the elders in the Tang clan first. Wanjin asks what happened inside and where the rest of the people are. Just then, the earth starts shaking. The warriors think it is an earthquake, but one of them points to the sky. A crack forms in midair and light pours out. At this point, Changshin is tense, realizing the unit containing the formation is breaking down. As the formation fully breaks, fragments fall away, revealing the inside. The ground is covered with hundreds of corpses. Wanjin observes the uniforms and notices that while some are different, most belong to the Dark Moon Sword Sect. He asks if our protagonist took all these people seriously by himself. admitting even he would find it difficult to deal with more than 30 of them. Suddenly, a warrior shouts and points to a specific body. He identifies the double sword sheath and realizes it is Mak Inhu, the sect leader. Seeing the severed body, Wonjin realizes even the sect leader was no match for Yeonmyeong. Our guy walks over calmly and says there were simply many of them, so they weren't hard to deal with. Wonjin had expected that much of the Tang family. This kid Yeonmyeong is already beyond the level of a head. Meanwhile, the other teams discuss the situation. They are shocked that Yeonmyeong dealt with over 100 enemies, including the famous Dark Moon Sword sect. They are sure as hell that the head position belongs to him. Among them, Moonchang grinds his teeth in anger. He feels bitter that he ended up being dead weight because of his ruined arm. That's why he hates that Tang Yeonmyeong, who used to be trash that couldn't learn martial arts, has become this strong. He hates how someone like him dares to rise above. Wonjin interrupts Moonchan's thoughts by declaring that the tournament is concluding. He announces the sole winner is number 28, Tang Yeonmyeong, and asks anyone with objections to come forward. Moonchan wants to say something, but Wonjin cuts him off. Since there are no objections, he declares that the process has concluded fairly. He orders the warriors to gather before the winner. Immediately, dozens of warriors stand before our boy and his team. Ijon says he cannot believe there are so many warriors and feels overwhelmed. Wonjin thinks that decades after the Tang clan's downfall, a new honor has finally been born to bring forth the revival. He then speaks loudly to Tang Yeonmyeong, appointing him as the new master. Along with Wonjin, 82 members get down on their knees. They bow and greet the new head of the Tang clan. Naturally, Yeonmyeong's team is amazed. They realize that just by being the head, he commands so much respect, and they wonder if they have to speak formally to him now. Wonjin hopes that at an age where he is not even 20, our boy can grow enough to regain the clan's reputation across Sichuan. Our hero addresses them, stating he knows what they want. He promises it won't take long to make it a reality, and asks them to trust him. As a result, the warriors look at him with respect, feeling like he read their thoughts. The weight of his words proves he is the true leader. Consequently, they all pledge to follow Tang Yeonmyeong. Our guy tells them to get ready because they are going back to the main house. As they leave, Moonchan watches them. He is furious, asking himself why Yeonmyeong gets everything. That is why he vows to get revenge no matter what, even if he has to sell his soul to the devil. With a final glare, he promises to bring our boy down. Later that night, Taehyo of the joint sect walks through the arena, looking at the bodies. He says he came as soon as he heard of the situation. Suddenly, a man descends from the sky and lands with a high impact. It is Hyunso. He scolds Taehyo for going alone, saying that now that he is at the top, he must act the part. Taehyo ignores him and notes the silence, while Hyunso finds it is impossible to sleep next to a mountain of corpses. He notes the unusual thing is that over 300 people were killed. He wonders if it is because an old eagle is better than a young crow, referring to the Tang family's past prestige. However, he recalls there were fewer than 100 family members on the mountain. Taehyo agrees it is strange, explaining that the mountain is an open area, so they should have heard of something this big happening. Hyunso suggests the Tang family might be moving while purposely avoiding them. He wonders why they would hide this, especially since they sent valuables in honor of the tournament. Then, Taehyo examines a body. He wonders if the Tang family's blade technique has really declined this much, and asks how many people were killed by a sword blade. Hyunso is confused, so Taehyo corrects him, shouting that it wasn't a sword, but a short blade. He asks if Hyunso realizes these corpses are the work of one person. Taehyo says his eyes cannot be deceived. He explains that most bodies show signs of being defeated by a learned sword technique, but there are no signs of mastery, which is why the cuts are all over the place. However, seeing those who couldn't even draw their weapons means they were dealt with in a second. Finally, Taehyo concludes there cannot be many people with skills like this. He decides he must meet this person and declares they are going to Sichuan. Hyunso asks his master if they are really going to Sichuan, as he worries about accidentally running into the killer. Taehyo scoffs, asking if Hyunso has forgotten that he has reached the top. He is confident that it won't be difficult to protect himself, while Hyunso is also worried about himself. Taehyo insists that even if the killer is a fool, he wouldn't hesitantly start a fight with him. Hyunso sighs, knowing he cannot beat his master's stubbornness. Instead, he suggests they go back to their clan first to inform the head. Taehyo smirks and agrees, noting that currently, the Black Death Alliance is in the south, the demonic cult is in the west, and things are tough for the joint sect. As Hyunso watches his master depart, he suspects Taehyo plans to visit the Tang family to make a deal. His master wants the Tang family to deal with the Black Death Alliance and then defeat the demonic cult. However, Hyunso believes the Tang family has been ruined for a while, so he doubts things will go as planned. He hopes there won't be a need to use his demon sword technique. Meanwhile, in a room, Elder Samu Jangro writes a talisman on paper. Just then, a man reports that the warriors have brought the competition participants back. The elder thinks the competition ended faster than expected, and consequently assumes Tang Young Ryong won easily with her skills and the fire dragon poison. But the man hesitates and points out that he does not see Miss Ryong among those who returned. As a result, the elder shouts in shock. At the main gate, two guards discuss who the winner might be. They are shocked to see a large group approaching, led by our protagonist with his team and the remaining participants. The guards recognize the Tang family symbol and immediately realize the competition is over. Word spreads quickly through the town, and everyone gathers, amazed that the competition ended so fast. They are excited to see the winner, while the crowd wonders who the handsome man leading the group is. The girls blush seeing Yeonmyung's face. Suddenly, a man in the crowd shouts for his daughter, Soi, and the girl waves to her father. The father is relieved, mentioning he heard many people died. Everyone reunites with their relatives. However, some parents cannot find their children and start crying. Myung watches them and realizes a mother must also be worried about him. He wonders if she will recognize him and is curious about her expression. Meanwhile, Yuri points out a man with glasses. She introduces her father, who works in the General Administration Department. Our boy jokingly asks if she is already asking him to take care of her father, to which Yuri admits she cannot let go of such an opportunity. Well, the girl is too honest. Yuri then explains her father has skills but hasn't been promoted because he doesn't suck up to anyone. He thinks that isn't bad, and consequently decides that people who aren't close to the elders will be useful when he takes charge. He plans to find people on his side. Just then, Tang Ki-sam, a family official, enters shouting good work to the warriors and the Jagal family. Instructor Changshin quickly bows to Ki-sam, asking if he has been well. Ki-sam laughs seeing Changshin hasn't changed. He thanks the Jagal family for assisting the main house. He then pats Changshin's shoulder, saying it was a relief to have the 7-lock Phantom Dome formation. He believes the participants were safe thanks to it. Although Changshin knows it was broken, he acts cool. Ki-sam then announces that he has informed the elders, so they should go to the elder house now. He proceeds to dismiss the warriors to rest, but Supervisor Woojin interrupts, saying they will not be going to the elder house. Ki-sam turns around confused. In response, Woojin introduces himself as the temporary leader of the honor guard. Ki-sam asks if he heard wrong, so Woojin states that the conditions of the competition mention the Stealth and Poison Hall as the seat of the winner. He argues it makes sense to go there instead of the elder house. Naturally, Ki-sam clenches his teeth and shouts. He asks how a mere warrior dares to talk about principles in front of the commander-in-chief, and then orders them to disperse immediately or face punishment. Woojin realizes they are being told not to talk back to the elders, which was an expected resistance. Suddenly, our protagonist walks over to Ki-sam and asks who in the world Ki-sam is. Our boy introduces himself as the winner, Tang Yeonmyung. Later, Ki-sam reports the situation to the elders. The elders ask who the winner is, and he hesitates before revealing it is Tang Yeonmyung. In response, an elder gets angry. He slams his hand on the table, shouting that it is impossible. He is in disbelief how that brat could win against the fire dragon Poison. Other elders mention that even their disciples, like Gukrin, lost. Furthermore, Elder Seok thinks it is impossible for Yeonmyung to have beaten Gukrin in just 3 years. He suspects our protagonist used a trick, and an elder suggests they should get to the bottom of it. The 4th elder agrees, asking how Yeonmyung beat every potential candidate and demanding to question the boy. However, Ki-sam hesitates. He remembers the scene at the gate. Flashback to the gate. Our protagonist told Ki-sam that only the family head can order the heir. He stated that just because the head's position is weakened, it doesn't mean the elders can order in their place. Ki-sam insisted on punishing them as protesters, shouting that Yeonmyung hasn't been officially acknowledged yet. He worried his position would be in danger if someone with a grudge against the elders became the head. Therefore, he warned Yeonmyung not to get on the elders' nerves. Suddenly, Yeonmyung raised his eyes, glowing green with murderous intent. He burst out with immense energy that hit Ki-sam. Ki-sam was terrified, realizing he would die if he irritated the boy further. Finally, our boy declared that whatever the loser elders think, they will follow the terms of the competition and go to the Stealth and Poison Hall. He told Ki-sam to let the elders know that now with the competition coming to an end, their reign is also over. When Ki-sam tells the elders everything, they are furious. In a fit of rage, one elder splits the table in two, screaming, "How dare that fool act this way?" Another elder suggests that this might actually be good, especially since Tang Yeonmyung hasn't been officially recognized as the leader yet. Because of this, he suggests they strip him of his position to teach him a lesson. The 4 elders agree to go to the Stealth and Poison Hall to assess his capability, and one elder immediately orders the warriors outside to prepare to move. He summons the master of the Blue Dragon Force, who arrives and accepts the command. The elder then vows to show that rascal the true reality of the Tang family and who the real masters are. Meanwhile, at his home, Tang Jokhui is amazed. He asks Myung if he really won the competition, and our guy confirms it. Jokhui believes that our boy's aura is incredibly strong and that his sister would be pleased. However, another man is angry. It is Tang Jihyuk, the Poison King and father of Moonchan. He asks if Myung really thinks he won, causing our guy to remember Jihyuk's words from 4 years ago. Back then, Jihyuk threatened to make him and his mother pay for what happened to Moonchan's arm. But back in the present, our hero recalls how Jihyuk talked big back then. He warns Jihyuk to be careful with every word and deed while staying at the Tang house. With a flash of killing intent, our guy says that otherwise, Jihyuk might end up disabling his son's remaining arm as well. Outside the house, Supervisor Woojin recalls Ki-sam saying our hero is the son of the Poison Phoenix. He remembers asking our hero about it earlier, though our boy said they could discuss it later. As he waits, Woojin thinks back to the conflict with Heaven's brilliant demon lord. He recalls how family warriors fought for their lives. Specifically, when the Tang family was losing, men arrived holding the head of the previous lord. The enemy pushed forward, disregarding poison and death, so Woojin remembers requesting support from the elders to counter the attack. However, the elders refused, claiming that if they fell, the family would face destruction. Woojin believes that if they had helped, they could have reduced the damage. Instead, the elders blamed everything on the poison phoenix, claiming she almost destroyed the family. Suddenly, Woojin realizes the poison phoenix accepted being deposed to protect her young son. He turns to his troops and says he believes they noticed who the current master is, declaring that to those who failed their roles that day, another chance has come. But just then, someone shouts, "Stop!" from behind. Inside the hut, our hero notices the commotion and decides to go out. Outside, the elders and their troops arrive, and one elder asks if they think they can defy the council and be safe. Woojin is surprised that the elders mobilize their own forces, especially when the elder demands they bring Yeonmyeong to him. Our guy walks out, saying there is no need to fuss since he is already there. Tang Jokwi points out that the third elder and others have arrived, but the elder shouts that our hero dares to claim the leader's seat without permission. As our guy descends the stairs, he states he has already proven his qualification by winning. He mentions they are verifying fairness at the Stealth and Poison Hall and asks what more they need. In response, the elder shouts about our protagonist's nasty nature and disrespectful language. Woojin tries to intervene, but the elder interrupts him. He demands our boy confess everything that happened in the exam if he wants to live. Our hero replies that he heard what happens in the competition is unspeakable. He then mocks them, asking if the family rules are lighter than expected or if they think he gained an unfair advantage. That's when the elder reveals he heard from the Jago Lord that there was interference from the Dark Moon Sword Sect and nearly 300 villains. He argues that with outside interference, the competition cannot be fair. However, our boy explains that Tang Gukrin and Tang Young Ryung killed other participants, and he ended the competition by killing them. He argues their intervention was after the competition, so fairness isn't an issue. The elder gets angry and asks, "Who killed whom?" Our protagonist tells him to go to Gangdong Mountain himself to check the bodies. Immediately, the elder commands a dive and dashes toward our boy with immense speed. Electricity strikes the area, causing everyone to shout in alarm. However, our boy blocks the elder's hand. He calmly calls him a fool and asks if he finds it hard to believe his granddaughter is dead. The third elder cannot believe his attack was blocked with just one hand. He thinks about how his demon-killing poison rots sight and hearing upon contact, and consequently wonders if our boy has surpassed his internal strength, but he quickly dismisses it as impossible. The elder prepares for another attack and shouts, asking how our boy dares to mock an elder. In response, our protagonist takes out a poison bottle he took from Ryong. The elder asks where he got it, so our hero questions him back if he knows what it is. He reveals it is the poison bottle the elder gave to his granddaughter, and then our guy throws the bottle down. It shatters and a huge fire blast erupts. Our boy explains that if it were just a simple poison bottle, one might overlook it. However, this is one of the Tang family's 10 poisons. Supervisor Woojin is shocked and asks if the contents could be legendary poison. Myong confirms it is called Fire Dragon Poison, which leaves Woojin amazed. He notes the strong fiery energy as the bottle burns and realizes the storage managed by the third elder was indeed compromised. The elder is completely shaken. Our hero then turns to Woojin and asks if the 10 poisons are so trivial that they can be used for personal greed. Woojin says absolutely not, explaining that it is dangerous enough to challenge even the most skilled warriors. Since the recipe is lost, the remaining poisons are more valuable than gold. Therefore, he concludes that using them for personal gain warrants severe punishment. Immediately, the other elders shout in protest. They ask how Woojin dares to mention severe punishment to a clan elder and order the guards to seize him. Our protagonist quizzes them if they think holding the title of elder allows them to evade clan rules. He assures the elder he will at least die honorably, and with that, our boy uses a flame technique. The elder's body turns into rock and shatters onto the ground, leaving everyone amazed and scared. Our hero is hoping that the elder's granddaughter awaits him in the afterlife. He calls him a corrupt elder who has no right to judge the family head, only he will decide where he stands. While Woojin thinks it is outrageous yet impressive how our protagonist stands so boldly before the elders, he realizes the fate of the Tang family may change here. Another elder gets angry and orders his troops to attack, shouting for them to restrain our hero immediately. However, our boy speaks to the Grand Elder, Tang Seok-jung. He asks if the Grand Elder knows his disciple endangered the family, but the Grand Elder asks what he is talking about. Our boy asks if he really didn't know his disciple was a spy for the Dark Moon Sword Sect, at which the Grand Elder shouts that it is nonsense and accuses our guy of framing him. However, the boy points out that the Dark Moon Sword Sect invaded the contest area, but the Grand Elder demands evidence of conspiracy. Suddenly, Myong says he will tell him. From behind, John Gil, the vice director's son, steps forward. He takes off his robe and reveals he is the sole witness. John Gil explains that before meeting Yeonmyeong, he fought with Tang Gukrin and got these wounds, showing the cuts all over his body. He states that these wounds cannot be made by poison or stealth techniques, but by a sword technique. Furthermore, he adds he didn't realize at the time, but it was likely a double sword technique. The Grand Elder tries to make an excuse. However, other elders interrupt. One says it is not mere speculation, recalling seeing the disciple use a sword technique from a distance. He notes the wounds on the bodies were very similar to Jeon Gil's wounds, which Jeon Gil confirms. He adds that before Tanggukran tried to kill him, he confessed he was a spy named Mak Inguk. Consequently, the elders murmur among themselves, recalling the rumor about a discarded bastard named Mak Inguk born to a maid. They realize it is true, so our hero turns to Jeon Gil and thanks him for stepping forward. Jeon Gil smiles and says he owes our boy his life, so it is only right to repay him. By now, the Grand Elder is completely shaken. He realizes his disciple really was a spy. However, he believes his own safety is more important now. He shouts to the other elders to block our hero and avenge the third elder, but our boy interrupts, warning them not to act rashly since evidence has been presented. The Grand Elder claims he didn't know anything and argues his situation is different from the third elder. In response, our hero asks if his status is so light that he can just ignore it. He asks if Tanggukran became the family head and gave the clan to the Dark Moon Sword sect. Would the Grand Elder claim ignorance then? He calls it careless, causing the Grand Elder to shout for him to wait. But before the Grand Elder even knows it, our guy cuts off his arm. Everyone is shocked. Our protagonist tells the Grand Elder he cannot escape the accusation of harboring a spy. He explains that normally his Dantian should be destroyed to cripple his martial arts, but since there is no proof of collusion, the punishment ends here. The Grand Elder mutters appreciation for the mercy. However, he is not thinking innocently. He thinks our boy is too fast to see, and pretending to stop the bleeding, he extracts a hidden poison. In his hand, the Grand Elder holds a bottle of formless poison. It is one of the Tang family's 10 poisons, colorless, odorless, and tasteless. Although it is not as potent as the original, it is a version he created over half his lifetime. Finally, he vows to kill our boy without him even knowing what hit him. The Grand Elder prepares to use the hidden poison. However, our boy notices it immediately. With a swift motion, he cuts off the Elder's remaining hand, the one holding the poison. Another Elder shouts in outrage, asking what madness this is. He reminds our boy that he promised mercy moments ago and questions if Mayong still claims the right to become the family head after this. The boy simply insists them to look at the severed hand on the ground. Everyone looks down, only to see the poison bottle next to the severed hand. The bottle is broken and liquid pours out. The boy points out that the Grand Elder poisoned his own blood flow for a desperate attack, calling it utterly disgraceful. The Grand Elder, lying on the ground, shouts for the family head to spare him, but our hero raises his hand, swirling with green energy. He declares that Tang Seok-jung attempted to assassinate the family head and disturb the clan. Therefore, he deems him a traitor and announces the punishment is severe. Showing no mercy, the kid swings his hand, and the Grand Elder's head is cut off instantly. Following this, everyone is shocked and terrified. Our protagonist addresses the remaining elders, warning that they are not above the Tang family's laws. If any remaining elder discards the family's law by using their position, he will personally execute justice. He admits the Tang family is fragile and could collapse at any moment. However, he promises one thing. He will ensure the members are not exposed to the threat of evil sects or the demonic cult. He vows they can live in peace in Sichuan. Then, he turns to Wu Jin's troops and the other participants and asks, not the elders, but all. Do they acknowledge him as the rightful family head? Later that night, at Tang Jihye's residence, an old woman rushes in to tell the news. Tang Jihye, our boy's mother, asks her to calm down and speak slowly, inquiring if Yeonmyeong really won the contest. The woman cries tears of joy and confirms he won, adding that everyone at the Stealth and Poison Hall acknowledged him. She is glad to announce that he is growing splendidly. Jihi cries, wishing Tang Long Ryang were alive to hear this news. Meanwhile, our protagonist is busy. He wanted to rush to his mother, but there are mountains of tasks to handle first. As a result, he sits in a conference meeting. Tang Jokwi announces that per the family head's orders, subsequent events will be handled at the Stealth and Poison Hall. Furthermore, the key decisions will require the family head core's approval. Effectively, the power held by the elders is transferred to the Stealth and Poison Hall. The elders look displeased, yet none openly show dissatisfaction. Suddenly, Elder O speaks up. He admits our hero is exceptional, but points out his experience is not yet vast, suggesting they act as a regent until the family head finishes growing. Our boy agrees that Elder O's words make sense. However, he knows they just want to use his lack of experience to keep their power. He suggests deciding the regency later and concludes the transfer of authority for now. Later, the investigation proves the smuggling of the fire dragon poison by the third elder was true, and doubts rise about the Elder Council's capability. As a result, the management of the 10 poisons is assigned to the Stealth and Poison Hall. The elders, having lost most of their authority, are left with only their respective military forces. Our boy announces that the military forces will continue to be managed by the elders. However, from now on, the elders must bear the cost of maintaining them personally. Naturally, the elders are clearly unhappy. Our guy adds that if there is a budget allocated through the vice director, it should be removed. Since the Direct Command Troop and Sovereign Spirit Troop lost their affiliation due to the death of the Grand Elder, no one has taken responsibility. Consequently, our hero combines them into the Shadow Troop and assigns them to the Stealth and Poison Hall. Their mission changes to external defense, and their salaries are adjusted to match existing guards. Some troops voice discontent with the lower pay and status, so our boy faces them. He wants them to forget the privilege they once held, because their military strength was neglected. He warns them that if they don't want to be dismissed, they better fulfill their duties. Furthermore, he threatens severe punishment for neglecting duties or causing friction. With that, he silences them easily. 2 days later, Instructor Jigal Changshin and other instructors bow in front of our boy. The instructor addresses him as family head, though internally, Changshin is nervous. He realizes our guy used force and legitimacy to dismantle the Elder Council and worries that one wrong word could lead to disaster. Our boy apologizes for neglecting them due to his busy schedule, then says there is something he would like to ask them. The instructor looks at our hero and can barely believe he is the same participant number 28. Our protagonist notices the look and asks if he is surprised by the clothes, explaining his subordinates fussed about dressing appropriately. Changshin thinks that even though our guy isn't officially the head yet, he is clearly declaring ownership of the clan. With a hesitant voice, he asks what the request is. Mayong explains he heard the defensive formations of the Jigal family are remarkable and requests to have that formation installed here to keep evil sects at bay. However, Changshin apologizes. The main clan formation cannot be installed without his head's permission. Not to mention, it requires precise items passed down as family treasures and several formation masters to pull that off. Just then, needles escape from our boy's hand, and green energy fills the room. The needles strike all the instructors who came with the instructor. The instructor turns, shocked to see everyone on the ground, and he shouts why the family head is doing this. Suddenly, a needle stops inches from the instructor's eye. Our hero reveals he already knows about the deal with Tang Young Ryong, accusing the instructor of choosing not to block the Dark Moon Sword Sect invasion. He asks if Changshin thought he would just overlook it. My guy remains firm on his stance. He demands the instructor install a defense similar to the Jeagle families in the Tang family main inner quarters. And get this, our boy isn't requesting. This is a direct order, and he wouldn't like to hear no again. He reminds Changshin that the Tang family rule is to return a grudge tenfold. That is why the elders died by his hand. He then starts counting to 3 and threatens that if he doesn't hear a positive response, he will personally go to the Jigal family and hold the Jigal instructor accountable. He leaves the consequences to Changshin's imagination until the instructor finally breaks. He agrees to do it, bowing down and begging our hero to spare his family members. Our hero smirks since he is satisfied. He is hoping that Changshin will proceed quickly. Later, Mirio, Ijun, and Yuri arrive. Well, our boy wanted to call them earlier, but there was too much to handle. Mirio hesitantly asks why he called her, addressing him as family head. However, our boy laughs since there is no need for formality when it's just them. He wants them to act as they always do, but Yuri isn't sure if it is really okay. Immediately they relax and put their legs on the table and shout our boy's name brazenly. This makes the head sigh, who wants them to be at least a little formal. Moving on, Yuri stretches and asks why he called them, so our hero announces he just appointed her father as a chief officer. The girls shout in shock. Mayong also vouches her father is definitely capable, therefore she should seize this golden opportunity. Yuri is happy but worries if it is okay to confirm it just like that, assuming there must have been opposition. Our hero admits silencing the opposing voices wasn't difficult, yet he warns her that it would be troubling if her father neglects his duty or embezzles. Yuri quickly defends her father, saying he is not that kind of person, so our protagonist tells her to help her father adapt to the duty. Yuri thanks him, almost crying with emotion. Afterwards, our boy turns to Mirio and Ijun. He called them to ask about their situations, as he plans to recruit people with outstanding ability who were rejected by the elders. Mirio says she doesn't really have anyone to recommend, so our hero asks Ijun about the Medicine King Hall, noting he is related to it. Ijun hesitates, admitting he has been wondering whether to talk about it because it is related to Yeonmyeong too. He reveals that the Medicine King Hall was involved in Yeonmyeong's father's poisoning. Hearing this, Mirio and Yuri are shocked. Yuri slams her hand on the table, shouting how they dare lay a hand on the heir's family. But our hero stops her and asks Ijun to continue. Ijun explains that the Medicine King Hall is secluded and independent from the Elder Council. They maintain their finances by treating patients and selling medicine. Furthermore, even after the Heaven's Brilliant Demon Lord incident, the Tang family survived thanks to their funds. Ijun reveals his grandfather was the leader of the Medicine King Hall but was dismissed. He explains that Yeonmyeong's father visited his grandfather daily and stood up against those who slandered the hall. However, since his father lacked internal strength, he suffered deep internal injuries from the fights. Hearing this, our boy realizes his father fought back despite everything. Ijun continues, stating the dispute exploded when the vice leader, Tang Il, made unspeakable slander about Yeonmyeong's mother. Tang Il tried to use martial arts when he lost the argument, but Ijun's grandfather intervened. Because of that incident, Tang Il was excluded from being a candidate for the next leader. Our guy asks if Tang Il harbored resentment and poisoned his father, and Ijun confirms it. He adds that Tang Il killed Yeonmyeong's father and overturned the Medicine King Hall. In addition, he also poisoned Ijun's grandfather and imprisoned him. Mirio asks why this wasn't made known, but Ijun says no one would step forward to explain. He entered the contest to survive, hoping they wouldn't kill someone who knew the truth. Suddenly he starts crying, saying he is too afraid to check his grandfather's condition. He apologizes for not finding talent for Yeonmyeong, but our boy asks why the vice leader kept the grandfather alive instead of killing him. Ijon suspects there is a secret division within the hall, mentioning an inner pill made from a mythical creature, the 10,000-year fire carp. Yuri and Mirio are amazed it exists, so our hero asks what an inner pill is. Ijon explains it enhances inner strength, recounting a legend about a lord who achieved the fire realm by consuming it. Ijon warns that the pill contains strong poison. That is why, if taken without neutralizing it, it leads to death. Furthermore, if the poison is removed clumsily, the effect diminishes. Our boy asks if Ijon's grandfather is the only one who can preserve the efficacy without removing the poison, and Ijon says yes. He explains the current leader plans to consume the pill, ascend to the fire realm, and lead his followers out of the Tang family to start his own sect. Naturally, the group is angry at the rebellion. Myung thinks the man is foolish to seek the fire realm without true enlightenment. Our guy thanks Ijon for his honesty and then asks one more thing. If they purge the current members and restore the grandfather, can the Medicine King Hall function properly? Ijon clenches his fist and says it is possible, believing he can teach new recruits if necessary. Our boy smiles and says that will do. He tells Mirio they will finish her story later, then stands up and declares they will head to the Medicine King Hall right away. Ijon asks if our hero is sure about not visiting his mother first, but our protagonist says she will understand. He states that as a family head, he cannot leave a conspirator alone. Above all, his mother wouldn't want him to stand idly by after hearing what his friend endured. This makes Ijon tear up. Finally, our boy opens the gate and vows to completely erase the Medicine King Hall that Ijon used to know. Inside the Medicine King Hall, the current chief, Tang Il, is annoyed. He has heard that Tang Longryang's son has become the family head, and he finds this troubling. He also worries because Tang Ijon has not returned to the hall yet. He knows Ijon is not the type to abandon his grandfather. However, he assumes Ijon must value his own life. Tang Il thinks he could kill the grandfather any time, but the problem is the inner pill. To fully absorb the pill's energy and reach the fire realm, he needs the old man to speak. Unfortunately, the grandfather won't talk even if he regains sanity. Tang Il debates removing the poison himself, but fears messing up and ruining the pill. Just then, a disciple runs in, shouting that the clan head is here. Tang Il shouts for him to be quiet. Meanwhile, outside, the Tang clan warriors are taking down the Medicine King Hall guards, clearing a path for our boy and Ijon. Later, Ijon confronts the members and asks why they are doing this. Myung asks Ijon if he found his grandfather, to which Ijon grinds his teeth and says no. He searched everywhere but found no trace, so he shouts at the men, demanding to know where they hid his grandfather. The men look at each other and claim they don't know. Immediately, our hero commands Supervisor Wu Jin, and Wu Jin cuts off the heads of the men who lied. Our boy looks at the survivors and asks who they are trying to deceive with those shifty eyes. He warns them not to test his patience and tells them to speak. Terrified, they finally confess, revealing that after the contest began, the current leader instructed them to imprison the former leader in the Noyak. Ijon is horrified. He asks how they could imprison his grandfather in such a place, explaining that Noyak was made to isolate infectious patients, but it was closed because the cold and damp environment worsened their condition. Our hero declares that he and Ijon are going into the Noyak and orders the Bongwi Brigade to clean the hall and wait at the entrance. Woojin is more than ready to obey. In the meantime, the Medicine King Hall members beg for mercy. However, Wu Jin and his men draw their swords and start slashing them. Going deep into the cave, our boy notes the depth and thinks Noyak fits the place perfectly. They are almost there, until they finally reach the entrance. Ijon sobs, fearing they are too late, but Myung tells him not to worry because his grandfather is alive. Ijon asks if he is sure, and our boy confirms he found him using his green energy. They enter the cell, and Ijon shouts that it is his grandfather. Our hero steps forward and cuts the cage rods. Ijon rushes to his grandfather and cries, "The old man's condition is worse than before." He suspects they used the mountain-subduing poison, so our guy asks what else they used besides that. Ijon lists Thunderbolt and Idiocy poison, which affects the brain to make one an idiot rather than kill them. He explains the poison spreads to the brain, consequently making antidotes ineffective without early intervention. Myung says it will be simple, leaving Ijon amazed. Our protagonist tells Ijon to hold him steady as he places a hand on the grandfather's chest. He plans to inject his inner energy to devour the poison using the poison-devouring frenzy, along with universal poison absorption. Suddenly, Grandpa's dark skin reverts to normal human color, and his hand twitches. Ijon is amazed. Our guy thinks his technique has devoured extreme poisons many times, so he carefully absorbs the poison without harming the frail body. Ijon shouts that his grandfather is breathing and his complexion has improved. Our boy smirks and tells the old man to rise, at which the grandfather opens his eyes. He mutters, asking where he is, and then he sees Ijon and recognizes him. Then he looks at our hero and asks if it is Long Ryang. Later, after the grandfather fully regains consciousness, they explain everything. The grandfather realizes our boy is Long Ryang's son and the new family heir, which our boy confirms. He mentions he heard from Ijon that the grandfather looked after his father. With watery eyes, Grandpa says fate works in mysterious ways. He regrets that the child who couldn't see his father's face because of his fault ended up saving him, and he thinks Long Ryang's son has grown wonderfully. He wishes Long Ryang could see this from heaven. Consequently, the grandfather asks if he may devote himself to serving the family heir. Our boy says of course, and he takes off his green robe and puts it on the grandfather. He explains he came to arrange a new position for the leader in Ijon, then tells them to leave because people are waiting. When they exit the cave, Tang-il is shaken. He wonders how the old man can stand so firmly and shouts, asking how they can mercilessly harm the members of the Medicine King Hall. He reminds them that the hall earns the funds to maintain the Tang family, and asks if they want the family to collapse. Our boy asks if Tang-il plans to play dumb even after seeing where they came from, inquiring if those are his last words. Mayong turns to the grandfather and asks if he has a final message, but the grandfather just looks away. Tang-il, having no choice, starts running and shouts for people to move aside. He thinks he will die if he stays. But suddenly a needle strikes Tang-il's neck. His body freezes. Our hero explains that it is the heart-severing flame poison made by Ijon, and then asks if Ijon's poison isn't enough to replace Tang-il. He notes Tang-il probably cannot even hear him now, and then Tang-il falls to the ground, completely dead. Our boy turns to the remaining members and commands the Bongui Brigade to finish the job. As usual, Woojin is prepared to execute the orders, and they take care of all the members of the Medicine King Hall, effectively erasing its corruption completely. Rumors spread instantly among the clan that the Medicine King Hall has fallen. Because of this, some men discuss whether the Tang clan can survive without the hall's funding. They wonder why the new leadership got rid of the place supporting them. Inside the hall, our hero stands in front of a red blazing orb. The grandfather warns him that the Medicine King Hall has fallen, but the orb is dangerous. Therefore, he asks if our guy plans to take it right away. He suggests waiting a few days for the poison effect to wear off, but our boy looks at the orb excitedly. He thanks the grandfather, but says he will take it as it is because he plans to use it soon. He thinks that if the poison is so strong it is visible to the naked eye, he cannot get rid of something so precious. With that, Mayong extends his hand to grab the orb. Before he even touches it, his fingers feel like they are melting, so he clenches his fist. He realizes it has an extremely potent fiery poison, as expected of a spirit that lives in lava. However, he notes it is nothing compared to the fire dragon poison from before. He thinks that if an ordinary man took this in an unrefined state, the power would burn them from the inside. Consequently, he decides this is the perfect way to test the strength of the 10 poisons. He then closes the box, feeling the power of the spirit inside. Back at the Stealth and Poison Hall, Tang Jihye comes to visit her son. She enters the hall and apologizes for the intrusion, telling our hero that she really got lucky with her child. Our hero welcomes her, stating this place belongs to her in the first place, so she should be here. He looks at her and thinks she is still beautiful, though she has aged from worry. Jihye runs to him and hugs him tightly, saying she is so thankful he returned safely. Our guy hugs her back while thinking about his past life. He remembers only reflecting on regret before his death, because he had no one to share his happiness with. That's why he decides his past life alone is enough for a life full of regret, and he vows that from now on, he must protect this life. Our protagonist asks if she met the Bongui Brigade, and Jihye says yes. She mentions they came this morning to help move her things, noting everyone was a familiar face, so it felt kind of odd. She points to the box in his hand and asks what it is, so our boy says it is something he brought for her. He opens the box, revealing the glowing orb. Naturally, Jihye is shocked. She recognizes it as the inner pill from the 10,000-year fire carp and insists that it would be right for him, the clan leader, to take it. However, our boy refuses. He says it is right for his mother to take it, claiming he has no use for the inner pill now. Jihye is confused and asks what he means. Our hero explains he has nothing more to increase with the orb, and then he holds her hand. Suddenly, a burst of energy surges from him. Jihye is stunned. She feels the intense heat and asks if he really reached the fire realm. He confirms it, and Jihye thinks about how her son is already in the fire realm. She feels she should praise him, but she also worries that enemies might attack the Tang family if they realize this. Seeing her nervous, our protagonist speaks gently. He says he wants her to live a long life, including his father's share, and he asks her to watch over him as he grows. He opens the box again and warns her that the inner pill is slowly dissipating, so she must hurry. Ji bites her lip as she realizes that even if her child is powerful, it is natural for a mother to want to protect him. She finally agrees to take it, saying it would be rude to reject his gift. She smiles and asks if he knows what she was called when she was younger. Our hero asks what, so she reminds him she was Sichuan's top beauty and the poison phoenix. When she holds the box, a massive burst of energy emits from her body. Our boy is taken aback. Ji says that is right. She is the Poison Phoenix, a title given to the most famous member of the family. She admits she might not be as skilled as him, but asks if she is still impressive. Our boy is shocked because he realizes his mother was hiding her strength. He never expected her to cultivate all by herself. He knows a Fire Realm master can detect even the smallest movement, so hiding power is difficult. He thinks that for her to hide it from him means she is truly skilled, realizing she has already reached the peak state just before the liberation of power. Jihye begins the cultivation process and tries to absorb the spirituality of the inner pill. She knows she must overcome her limit, but she finds the absorption difficult. The method is simple. Take spirituality slowly and internalize it. However, the pill is dissipating too fast, and she worries she will lose half of it before she can finish. Suddenly, our boy puts his hand on her shoulder. He tells her that enlightenment does not come from thinking about it, Instead, he advises her to absorb, analyze, and imitate her surroundings. He says he will give her a little push, and then he transfers his energy into her. Jihee is shocked that Yeonmyoung's energy is fusing with the inner pill. She recognizes this as the Tang family poisonous vital azure radiant heart technique, and realizes she doesn't have to internalize it little by little. Instead, she can transform the pure energy into something she is familiar with and absorb it all at once. She focuses, thinking to herself that she was blessed with such a good son. Finally, the process is done. Our boy steps back and declares that with this, his mother has reached the fire realm as well. Everyone is present at the main building of the Hall of Dark Poison. However, the mood is tense. Captain of the Poison Lord Unit, Jihyuk Dang, grumbles about being called to a meeting at such an odd time. They feel that their time has been disrespected. The fifth elder then asks Jeokwi how much longer they need to wait. While Yeonmyoung might be the young lord, it is still too much to gather everyone and make them wait. Hiding his anger, Jeokwi mentions he will arrive any second. Right then, the guards announce the arrival of their young lord. Yeonmyoung enters and thanks everyone for coming so early, explaining he wanted to make an announcement with everyone present. He steps ahead, and consequently, the fifth elder asks about the announcement. Our boy recalls that the fifth elder was the one who suggested he appoint a regent to manage clan affairs until he is older. The elder acknowledges this and asks if there is someone he has in mind. In response, our protagonist turns and asks why the elder thinks he will choose one from among the elders. As the fifth elder starts to wonder who will be selected, a figure enters, causing everyone to freeze. The elders are shocked to see her, noting it has been more than 10 years and she is still doing well. Seeing their reactions, our hero comments that no one is suited to lead their clan other than her, and asks if he is right. After the elders blamed Jihee Dang for the invasion of the demons of vast heavens, she was removed from her rightful place as the clan's heir. However, after 10 years, the phoenix is finally rising from the ruins. The figure is Jahye, who, upon entering, sees many familiar faces. Looking back to the previous night, before the Regency inauguration, Jihye was taking a bath and felt grateful for rising to transcendence, though she still can't get used to the scent coming from her body. She felt a bit embarrassed, thinking the maidservant did not deserve to see her like that, then noted she needs more practice manifesting her internal energy. After entering the realm of transcendence, she can now see where Yeonmyoung stands and consequently notices he is close to the next stage of transcendence. She recalled that even the Lord of the Unorthodox Coalition achieved transcendence only after turning 20, and wondered if something extraordinary happened during the higher selection process. She smiled faintly, believing there is still a lot she and her son need to do that night. Afterwards, our protagonist clapped and congratulated his mother on ascending to transcendence. They sat together at the dining table, chatting happily. Jihee wondered how her son attained transcendence, as she still cannot believe how much he has accomplished at such a young age. Internally, our boy admitted it is a valid question, but he cannot simply tell her he attained enlightenment based on memories from his past life. Therefore, he decides to reveal what happened during the process. He asks Jihye if she knew the third elder smuggled one of the 10 poisons into the trials. Jihee nods and points out he gave the fire dragon breath poison to his granddaughter. To her surprise, Yeonmyoung reveals he drank the poison. She worriedly asks how he could do such a reckless thing, pointing out that he could have died. Our hero shrugs off her concern with a casual laugh, and then reveals that during the goo poison battle, Yongreong poisoned him with one of the 10 poisons. Surprisingly, he attained enlightenment on how to convert poison into internal energy, and consequently rose to transcendence. His mother jolts in surprise, thinking it is interesting that enlightenment can be attained in different ways. On the other hand, our boy is happy to see she has accepted his explanation. His mother then points out that she heard from a maidservant while bathing that the Hall of Medicine was taken down, and asks if it was his doing. This time, our protagonist decides to speak the truth, as it also concerns his father, so he nods. He explains everything to her, and after listening, Jihye clenches her fist, saying she hoped it was not true. Then, she worriedly comments that it must have been hard for Ijeon, and mentions she has a favor to ask. When Yeonmyoung asks about it, his mother states that after becoming a widow, she lived in hiding for years, fearing for our boy. That's why she wishes to build a foundation so no one will try to take his place as the future leader. Listening to her, our hero smiles softly. Now, in the present, Jihye enters the hall, sparking murmurs about her arrival. Some point out her youthfulness, while others wonder if she has regained her former vitality. Jeokwi happily calls her Sister Jihye. Yeonmyoung then announces that from this moment, his mother, Jihye Dang, will be the new leader of the Dang clan of Sacheon. The fifth elder freezes, realizing she has become the new leader instead of a regent. Jihye starts her speech, first thanking everyone for coming. She states that while she is made the clan leader, she will only rule on behalf of her son until he matures. To repay his trust, she is setting the groundwork to build a stronger clan. With that, she begins the morning session by looking over their agenda. As Jahye decided, the Fallen Hall of Medicine is renamed the Hall of Remedies. Consequently, she appoints Hoyol Dang as head and Ijeon as deputy head. Yuri's father becomes the new director of the executive council and is ordered to investigate the clan's funds. He soon finds evidence of financial misconduct by the elders, and the recovered funds are enough to fill the clan's treasury for now. Meanwhile, Captain Jihyuk Dang is dismissed from service along with most of the elders who had been embezzling clan resources. In fact, anyone exploiting the funds is removed from their posts. All of this happens within a few days. Now, our protagonist, sitting on the edge of a mountain, reflects that his mother is a born leader. Because of her, many issues in the clan are resolved. He remembers that at first, he wanted to live a normal life with his mother by simply participating in the process, but now he is surrounded by other concerns. The people who are his friends, subordinates he can trust, and many members of his clan, these are all people he wants to protect in this life. However, it is almost humorous that he was not even able to protect himself not long ago. In the present, though, our boy is determined to grow stronger so he can protect his clan from the Lord of the Dark Unorthodox Coalition and the Demon Lord of Vast Heavens. Meanwhile, news that the Dang clan has a new lord reaches the Lord of the Dark Unorthodox Coalition. He receives a report that Inhumag and Yunsung were defeated by the Dang clan's young lord. Heartfire sect leader Seol Hyunyo reports that those two were part of the coalition and are known throughout the unorthodox sects. She suggests they wipe out the Dang clan before they regain power. However, Lord Giljun Yu shakes his head. When Seolyeon reminds him that eliminating their own subordinates is the same as challenging his authority, Giljun becomes furious. He warns her to leave the Dang clan alone, insisting they can still use it. He emits a strong aura, and consequently, Seolyeon starts to tremble as he glares at her, coldly stating that those two fools attacked the Dang clan without his orders and paid a heavy price. He soon returns to normal, stating it was better for them to die at the hands of the Dang clan's leader than face his wrath. He smirks, finding our hero interesting for managing to eliminate those two. Finally, he orders his guards to send a letter inviting the young lord of the Dang clan to the upcoming banquet of Sacheon. In Jihee's room, Yeonmyoung praises his mother for doing a perfect job for the clan. However, she comments that she isn't sure how well she has done, since it's been a while since she handled clan affairs. At that moment, he notices his mother is hiding her internal energy again. Jihee feels surprised that her son has detected this, but internally our hero admits that this time, he can barely sense it. Still, he wonders if there is any reason to hide it even after rising to transcendence. To that, Jihee states she is not simply holding back her strength, as she is using a secret technique from their clan called Hidden Energy Presence. She also suggests he use the technique, but he grows confused since he doesn't see any reason to do so at the moment. Then, his mother begins telling a story about one of their ancestors, the very first firefighter of the Dang clan. During his time, a terrible plague spread through a one-clan village in Sacheon. Even though food was abundant, the villagers appeared extremely weak. With no funerals being held, bodies had to be burned to prevent the spread of disease. Consequently, the village was nearly wiped out by the plague, but a 10-year-old boy remained. The boy was unaffected by the disease, and the only explanation the villagers could come up with was that he was the cause. Soon he was kicked out of the village, and during a storm, he sought shelter in a cave. He survived by eating leftover food that villagers had offered to the gods. 2 days passed like that, and he remained alone. On the third day, however, the villagers did not visit the temple. Everyone had died, and that boy was the only one left. He wondered why he alone was unaffected by the plague. Soon after, a mysterious group appeared before him because he was a child with an affinity for poison. The group was the most notorious assassin guild in the history of martial arts, the Moonshadow Poison Assassination Guild. This guild had kidnapped many children across the continent to train them as assassins, forcing them to take poison pills that required regular antidotes, making escape impossible. As the boy grew into an assassin, he discovered the body of a peer who failed to take the antidote on time. In that moment, he realized the assassin group was responsible for the plague that destroyed his home. After that, he did everything to become stronger, accepting and completing every difficult mission. Eventually, he succeeded in assassinating a Supreme Master Warrior. The guild leader then named him one of the 5 great assassins and offered to grant any wish he desired. However, the boy simply replied he needed nothing. Immediately after that, he began wiping out the entire guild, ascending to a higher realm in the process. Through the enlightenment gained in his battles with master warriors and the martial arts he learned at the guild, he created an ultimate technique called the Reign of a Million Flowers. With it, the Moonshadow Poison Assassination Guild disappeared in just one night. As the descendants of that boy began living in Sacheon, the present Dang clan came into being. Now that man is remembered as the Shadowless Visitor. When Jihee looks at her son, she finds him sleeping, so she pinches his cheek to wake him. Yeonmyoung mutters that he never knew their clan had such an interesting history. Still, he asks about the connection between their clan's origin and the hidden presence technique. His mother explains that, including the 5 great assassins and the guild master, the assassin guild had many transcendents, and asks if he can guess how the Shadowless Visitor eliminated them all alone. Our boy guesses that it must be thanks to the Reign of a Million Flowers, thinking that many warriors can't withstand a hidden weapons attack that targets a group at once. Ji mentions he is partly right. The technique was indeed used, but she adds that it is an aura technique rather than a hidden weapons technique. She explains that the battle between Masters of Transcendence is a battle of aura, because aura body armor can't be penetrated by regular hidden weapons. From this, our protagonist realizes it doesn't matter how many hidden weapons are used, as they will only bounce off the aura body armor. On the other hand, a barrage of hidden weapons infused with aura, the Dang clan's powerful technique, was made specifically for use against Masters of Transcendence. He further notes that neither the wild dance of spinning stars nor scattered iron fragments compares in power, and even maintaining such a technique is difficult for a Master of Transcendence. Unexpectedly, Jihi notices our hero wondering how this could be possible. She states that the answer is found in the Hidden Energy Presence technique. To activate this technique, a person must concentrate all their internal energy flowing through their veins into one of the 12 energy channels. Then, using core energy, the person blocks the flow and seals the energy channel, which preserves the internal energy. Even Masters of Transcendence can be fooled by this. While it's true that one's immediate internal energy levels will drop, those with experience and enlightenment can easily refill their energy. By repeating the process 12 times, sealing each internal energy channel, the core energy that protects the internal force comes together to form a new protective shield known as aura body armor. Jahi explains that the dragon scale offers better protection than regular aura body armor, and as its name suggests, is as strong as dragon scales. Yanmyeong notes that, just like the fire dragon breath poison, everyone compares it to a dragon. His mother then adds that sealing energy channels not only protects the body, furthermore, if all 12 channels are released at once, then for a moment, one can use up to 10 times more than their original internal energy. When our protagonist asks if the Rain of a Million Flowers can only be used after all channels are released, she tells him it takes more than that. She says there were important passages passed down with the hidden energy technique, but they were all lost during the battle against the demons of vast heavens. Even the passages passed down by word of mouth disappeared with the deaths of 2 elders. Still, Jihi believes her son will master the technique in the future, since he is her pride. Our hero agrees, thinking there is nothing that the poisonous phoenix's son cannot do. Soon, Yeonmyeong learns the hidden energy presence technique from his mother. Now sitting at his desk, he thinks that drinking poison is the best way to quickly refill his internal energy after it is sealed away. Others call it poison, but to him it is an elixir. He decides to ask Ijun to make some poison for him, but his thoughts are interrupted by a guard who knocks on the door. The guard announces that the young lord has a guest who wants to meet urgently. Suddenly, Mirio bursts in, yelling for help from our boy. He asks what's going on, and unexpectedly she shouts that her sister is dying. Yeonmyeong quickly asks if Mirio should take her sister to the Hall of Remedies. However, Mirio cries as she reveals they have already been there several times, but it turns out her sister's condition isn't something medicine can treat. When our hero wonders if it might be an internal injury, Mirio explains that it's actually energy blockage of the 9 yin channels. In fact, aside from the Blazing Sun Palace, the North Sea Ice Palace also uses energy blockage in their martial arts. The members of the Ice Palace practiced ice martial arts, which, being born with yin energy, was considered both a blessing and a unique skill for those people. As they step out, our boy and Mirio discuss how people who don't practice ice martial arts gradually suffer from energy blockage. He then asks if she and her sister are descendants of the North Sea Ice, to which she nods, but clarifies they aren't direct descendants. A long time ago, the descendants of the Ice Palace settled in Sacheon and married into the Dang clan. People say the energy blockage can be treated by learning ice martial arts. However, in the Dang clan, members only learn about poison and hidden weapons. Consequently, they have nothing left of ice martial arts here, and the techniques their ancestors brought have long been lost. Now, energy blockage appears like a genetic illness every few decades, and this time it's Mirio's sister who is suffering. When Yeonmyeong is about to say something, Mirio announces they have arrived at her home. Inside, her sister's condition has worsened. She is beginning to freeze, her eyes closed, and she is unable to awaken. Our protagonist notes that the room itself is freezing from the cold energy. He turns to Mirio, who is weeping, and tells her he can't promise anything because of her sister's current state. He explains that it looks like her sister has used her innate core energy to block her energy channels and fight the cold, but she is at her limit. As a last resort, she has even shut down her consciousness to focus on blocking the energy. While sobbing, Mirio asks if there is anything they can do. She pauses, and then our hero reveals that there is a way. They can try using external force to expel the cold energy, but there's a high risk. Her sister might not withstand the process, and he could be overwhelmed by the cold energy himself. Mirio imagines the scene in her mind, frozen with worry. Yeonmyeong frowns, wishing the odds were in their favor, but he knows he can't make a reckless decision since his friend's sister is at stake. Now all he can do is wait for Mirio's decision. He tells her to choose. Should they look for another way, or attempt his method? Breathing heavily, she states that they are here because they have no other option. With a heavy heart, she says she can't give up on her sister without even trying. She knows she is putting our boy at risk, but she begs him to save her sister. Then, our protagonist begins undressing Mirio's sister, prompting Mirio to question if it's really necessary. Embarrassed, he explains that her clothing will only get in the way of extracting the cold energy, and insists that a bit of embarrassment is better than death. With that, he starts the extraction process. In his mind, Yeonmyung reviews the 9 yin channels, noting the middle of the forehead isn't a major concern, so he moves to the heart. He feels a moment of embarrassment, but then the cold energy resists extraction, and half of our hero's body becomes frozen. When Mirio expresses concern, Yeonmyung assures her he's managing for now. He notes he has managed to extract the cold energy from 6 channels, but his body is reaching its limit from absorbing the cold. If this continues, he knows he'll freeze to death. He mutters that it would be much easier if he was dealing with poison, and suddenly, something comes to mind. He recalls Ijon's grandfather explaining why poison forms inside the heavenly orbs, saying that medicine and poison have the same roots. When a substance exceeds human limits, it becomes poison. Our boy realizes that even yang energy, essential for life, becomes fire poison when it exceeds safe limits. Therefore, he considers the bone-chilling cold energy as ice poison. He immediately activates the azure pool of poison lust. After a short moment, it begins to react. Although the cold energy might initially resist extraction, once it is perceived as poison, it will cease to be a threat. As a result, his frozen side begins to thaw, and his azure pool completely draws out the cold energy. Miso, feeling her body warm as the cold leaves her, slowly opens her eyes and suddenly begins to scream. Looking at Mirio, both sisters start to weep and embrace each other. Mirio explains to Miso what just happened, which makes Miso feel she owes her life to Yeonmyung. Although Mirio is concerned about why the young lord is still touching her sister, Miso points out that he is still focusing and consequently suggests they wait. Meanwhile, inside Miso's body, our boy observes that this energy is like an elixir. There is more energy than his body can absorb, and while the excess will disappear, he decides to absorb as much cold energy as possible to try out the hidden energy presence technique. He wonders exactly how many energy channels he is able to fill up. After a few moments, as he opens his eyes, he is surprised to discover he can absorb 4. This leaves him with 4 times the amount of energy he used. As he considers his current low energy levels and how to manage them by drinking poison, his thoughts are interrupted by embarrassment as he realizes he is still touching Miso. Nervously, he retracts his hand. Miso, however, calmly says it's fine since she heard the whole story from Mirio. She thanks him, and he replies that it was his duty as the young lord. Unexpectedly, Miso's father bursts in and sees his naked daughter, which makes him furious. He demands to know our protagonist's purpose, but his daughters quickly try to calm him down. Later, their father sincerely apologizes to Yeonmyung, bowing repeatedly and asking for forgiveness. Our hero says he completely understands, acknowledging that it was an easily misunderstood situation. The father sobs, saying he cannot express enough gratitude now that his daughter can live longer. He met his wife as a merchant and chose to settle with the Dang clan. Sadly, she also suffered from energy blockage and passed away. To save his daughters, he spent everything searching for a cure but found none. He weeps as he thanks our boy for saving his family, vowing that he will do anything for him. Yeonmyung explains that he only did what was needed. After that, our hero comments that the place is quite quiet for a merchant guild. Miso's father explains that after the collapse of the Dang clan and the Dark Unorthodox Coalition, they no longer venture outside the city walls. Consequently, the young lord bows, suggesting they discuss this later since he has something else to do. Before he can leave, Mirio and Miso appear, mentioning they haven't properly thanked him yet. Miso, now wearing a beautiful dress, expresses her deep gratitude for saving her life. Our protagonist blushes and then heads back. Miso, however, worries about whether he is truly fine, noticing he looks a bit dazed. She asks Mirio if she thinks the young lord hurt himself while treating her energy blockage, but Mirio teases her and asks if she's sad to see him go. Miso turns red and jolts, asking if it was that obvious. When Mirio nods, Miso covers her face with embarrassment. Mirio pats hair, saying anyone would react like that, and adds that her sister is the prettiest person she's ever seen. Mirio grins as she thinks to herself that the look on Yeonmyung's face was similar when he saw Miso. Because of this, she is certain he is just as interested as her sister. Meanwhile, on his way back, our boy thinks about family. He imagines starting a family with Miso, having a son, training him, and eventually marrying him off and having grandchildren. He blushes, realizing he even imagined grandchildren. He smiles, never expecting to have such feelings for someone, and guesses this is part of wanting a normal life. He hopes to see Miso again soon. However, he recalls the issue Miso's father raised earlier. He starts thinking about Giljun Yu, Lord of the Dark Unorthodox Coalition. Although not directly involved in the downfall of the clan like the Demon Lord of Vast Heavens, there is still a threat, as shown during the heir selection process. Our hero concludes that as long as they share Sacheon, conflicts are bound to happen. At the Heartfire sect, in the Dark Unorthodox Coalition's territory in Sacheon, Seolyeon receives a report that the Dang clan is growing rapidly. She takes a bite of her apple and doesn't pay much attention to the report. She then recalls Giljun's cold warning to stay away from the Dang clan. She also remembers Injae Yob, Chobung's sect leader, reminding her to wait until their lord's anger subsides. In a burst of frustration, Seolyeon throws her apple at the reporter, angry that everyone keeps telling her to do nothing even though the Dang clan's new leader and heir have both reached transcendence. She bites her nails, frustrated that she can't avenge Inhu Mag and Yunsong Jong yet. Suddenly she pauses, recalling her lord's orders to invite the Dang clan's young lord to the upcoming Sacheon banquet. She smirks, thinking the banquet will provide a great opportunity. She admits that waiting is not her nature, and adds that whenever she closes her eyes, Inhu appears in her dreams, urging her to take revenge. Excitedly, she decides to eliminate every last member of the Dang clan for her anger to subside. She glares at her reporter with a murderous look, and, ignoring his pleas, she burns him on the spot. With that, Seolyeon decides to prepare something unforgettable for our boy. At a meeting, Ji-hyuk, former captain of the Poison Lord unit, asks the second elder about their future plans. The second elder admits they have lost too much since Ji-hee-dang became the clan leader. However, he questions why Ji-hyuk is even asking him, reminding him that it was his and his son's actions that led to their current predicament. Pointing at Munchin, he angrily asks why he picked a fight with someone much stronger than himself, accusing both Munchin and Ji-hyuk of ruining his life's work. Meanwhile, Munchin is getting furious at the second elder, resenting the way he is speaking in front of the clan leader. He silently curses our boy Yeonmyeong, vowing to take revenge once his arm is healed. After that, Ji-hyuk repeats his question, stating they are struggling just to maintain their private units. In response, the second elder clenches his fist and declares they should simply leave the clan. The next day, our hero is guided to the Vault of Ultimate Poisons, where the 10 poisons and other deadly toxins of the Dang clan are stored. He recalls that the third elder was responsible for managing the poison vault before he was dismissed, and now both he and the Hall of Dark Poison are handling it. The guards at the entrance greet their young lord respectfully. Before going in, a guard hands Yeonmyeong a poison-repelling orb to protect him from the poisonous air inside. The idea is that the orb will filter out most of the toxins if kept in his mouth. Surprisingly, our protagonist says he doesn't need it, which startles the guard. Yeonmyeong shakes his head, pointing out that the orb must have been used by many people, including the third elder. Even though the guard insists it is cleaned every time and that our hero should use it even if he is immune, the guard gets punched by our boy and falls along with the orb. After that, Yeonmyeong steps inside the vault. He observes that it's well maintained, as this is where the 10 poisons are kept. He finally understands the guard's concern. If a normal warrior entered, they would be killed instantly. Even though his own energy is compromised due to the hidden energy presence technique, the air here is deadly. However, with his mastery of the azure pool of poison lust, walking through the vault feels like a walk in the park. He inhales the toxic air, enjoying it as if he's receiving poison therapy, and consequently feels his internal energy rising, though it's still not enough to restore him fully. That is why the best way would be to drink a poison as potent as the 10 poisons, but he remembers the clan law forbids using them for personal reasons. Because of this, he thinks he could have asked Ijeon for the recipe. Suddenly, he senses something unusual. The air feels distorted where he stands. Upon closer inspection, he realizes it's an illusion barrier. He wonders why there would be such a barrier in their poison vault, especially one different from the Jeagle clan's technique. With only one way to find out, he uses his technique to cut through the barrier and discovers a hidden passage. In front of him, paper talismans for sealing and warding line the way. Yeonmyeong immediately recognizes they aren't the work of the Jeagle clan, but rather the techniques of mystic practitioners. In his past life, his master knew a few of them. These individuals were obsessed with mystical arts, just as his master was obsessed with swords. Specifically, mystic practitioners aspired to become immortal spirits by mastering spells. Our hero recalls the time when his master threw him into their illusion fields as training, where he encountered beings unlike any he'd seen before. What's certain is that those practitioners only get involved in matters that interest them. Therefore, he can't comprehend why they would install their barrier inside the poison vault. In the past, Yeonmyeong's master revealed that mystic practitioners are selfish, devoting themselves to demons and ghouls in hopes of achieving immortality. He told our boy that the reason he befriended them was by beating them up daily until they were willing to talk. Now, our protagonist believes there will never be anyone quite like his master, who shared such unique methods for making friends. This only means the Dang clan has something that caught their attention. As Yeonmyeong observes further, he notices something so poisonous that deadly fumes are leaking out, even though hundreds of talismans are in place to contain it. He grins, thinking that while he initially came to find the recipe for the 10 poisons, now he's found something far more intriguing. Consequently, he steps into the corridor to investigate. Meanwhile, someone inside senses an intruder. They observe that it isn't the shadowless visitor, and while they wonder how long it's been, they ultimately only care about being freed by our boy. Inside, Yeonmyeong finds the 10th poison, which he thought was lost. The poison jar is covered with talismans. As he reaches toward the jar, wondering what kind of poison requires such extreme measures, a resistance spell prevents him from proceeding. He notes the strength of the spell, realizing it will take significant effort to undo it. Determined, he channels his will to cut the talismans one by one, planning to remove those stuck directly to the jar as well. Skillfully, he slices off each talisman, wiping his sweat and noting that the hidden energy presence technique has weakened his energy. Normally, this would not have taken so long. As the talismans fall away, the poisonous air grows even thicker. Placing his hand on the poison jar, he prepares to see what's inside. Meanwhile, within the jar, a black spirit senses the restraints have vanished. Suddenly it sees the light. A violent explosion erupts, throwing our hero backward. Before he can react, a tentacle-like appendage reaches for him. He instinctively tries to seize it before it can grab him, but it catches his arm. The black spirit praises his quick reflexes but says it will give him a painless death for freeing it from the jar. When Yeonmyoung asks what it is, the spirit reveals itself as the blue-horned white snake and immediately begins introducing itself as the pinnacle of venom. Yeonmyoung finally realizes that the entity before him is goo poison incarnate. The white snake nods, admitting that blocking off the energy channel in his shoulder was impressive, but then questions how long he will be able to withstand it. With amusement, the goo poison incarnate claims that, in a short time, his arm will melt down. However, all its confidence fades when it sees poison lust absorbing all the poisonous air. The white snake, now terrified, asks what his relation is with the shadowless visitor. Grabbing the snake tightly, our hero reveals he is its descendant. Naturally, the snake nervously pleads with our protagonist to deactivate his poison, or else it will perish for good. Nevertheless, Yeonmyoung remains angry with it and squeezes even tighter, deciding to absorb all of its poison. As he begins extracting the poison, the white snake panics, and at that moment, it proposes to offer a deal. Our boy pauses for a moment as the snake starts explaining. The snake says its only wish is to escape from the seal and promises that, if spared, it will become his familiar. Yeonmyoung seems a bit interested, prompting the snake to say that if he trusts it, he will never regret it. It explains that his energy levels will rise thanks to its poison energy. Deep down, our protagonist agrees, thinking that even the fire carp's orb or the fire dragon's breath was not this potent. The absorbed energy immediately rises above his current internal energy levels. After that, the white snake states it can supply him with an endless amount of poison energy, and innocently asks whether that would be more beneficial for him or if absorbing all the energy right now is better. However, our hero shakes his head, saying it's not smart to keep a threat alive and that he can find poison elsewhere as well. The white snake's eyes fill with tears as it explains it has only stared at the wall, having spent the last few decades inside that jar. Making a cute and innocent face, the snake insists it won't be able to disobey him once it becomes a familiar. After a pause, Yeonmyoung finally decides to trust it, but he warns that if he notices anything strange, he will get rid of it instantly. The snake immediately acknowledges this. Then, our boy asks how he can make it his familiar, admitting he does not know anything about mystic arts. The snake starts emitting energy and develops the thread of a soul, explaining that once he holds it, their souls will be linked, and the snake will become his familiar. With that, Yeonmyoung holds the thread of a soul. Meanwhile, outside, the guards discuss how long their young lord has been inside. They start panicking and wonder if something bad has happened to him. One suggests going in, but the other reminds them they are forbidden from entering the vault. Regardless, the healthy one puts the protecting orb inside his mouth and mentions that they may be punished, but that shouldn't stop them from saving their future clan leader. Before they can move, a bright light appears from inside the vault and the ground shakes. The door opens, and one guard worriedly asks if their young lord is all right, while the other sees him shining. Later, Yeonmyoung observes he can now activate aura body armor, dragon scale. Unlike the normal aura body armor, this one feels as if he is wearing actual armor. He smiles, recalling that he was able to fill all 12 energy channels once he made the white snake his familiar. Still, our protagonist plans to control his energy levels in public more, as he has already attracted a lot of attention on his way back. In the next moment, the white snake comes out and asks why Yeonmyoung has to worry about what others think of him, even though the shadowless visitor did not conceal his power. Ignoring everything said, our hero flicks the snake away, reminding it to stay hidden. Feeling pain, the white snake reveals that others can only see it if it allows them to. It also adds that with this kind of aura, our boy will ward off his enemies as well. Still, Yeonmyoung feels it is too much, as this time he is trying to live a normal life. Hearing him say, "this time," the white snake points out that he is talking like he is living his second life, and consequently, doubts he will live a normal life. When our young lord demands to know what he means, the snake states there is always a reason behind having great power. It adds that it was the same for its previous master, the shadowless visitor, because those with power are bound by fate. Yeonmyoung smirks, pointing out his ancestor also controlled it. The white snake gets irritated and tells him not to get it started. It reveals that the former master made it work like a dog, and then had a mystic practitioner seal it in a jar, thinking it was dangerous. As the snake fumes just thinking about its past, our protagonist is deep in thought as he finally understands why mystic practitioners were involved. The white snake is actually a mythical creature on a higher plane of existence. Now, Yeonmyoung wonders why the mystic practitioners didn't try to make it their own, and why they helped his ancestor seal it instead. He wonders if his ancestor was similar to its previous master. More than that, he thinks about whether he was really born like this for a reason, and maybe it has something to do with his past life. Suddenly, a guard bursts in, announcing urgent news. Our young lord quickly hides the white snake and asks about the news. The guard reports that the path between Sacheon and their clan is filled with warriors from the unorthodox sect. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Hyunso is breathing heavily as he and his uncle's path has been blocked. The enemy leader mocks the masters of the Gongdong sect and asks why they are here, insisting that Sacheon belongs to none other than the dark unorthodox sect. Taehyo, heavily injured, tells Hyunso to run and leave him behind. However, Hyunso protests, stating he cannot take them all on his own. Internally, Hyunso notes that hundreds of unorthodox warriors are there, under the command of the leader of Mokyong Palace, Taechin Jang, and with Taehyo's internal injury, he cannot stand a chance. Taecheon notes they must have come to seek help from the Dang clan, but he proudly announces that the Dang clan has already been isolated since their new lord took over Sacheon. He mockingly laughs, saying his lord will certainly reward him if he offers the two of them to him. Although he has decided to keep both alive, it will not be without losing a limb or two. Meanwhile, Yeonmyeong arrives at the scene as his guard guides him. Our hero asks who those men are, and his guards reveal they are from the Gongdong sect. He then concludes that those on the opposite side are from the unorthodox sects. After that, he orders his guards to assist the two from the Gongdong sect. Hyunso observes from a distance and realizes the Dang clan is there to help, but he is not happy with their small number since they face hundreds. Our protagonist steps forward, and when he sees Taeheo in poor condition, he orders his guard to assist him. A guard appears instantly, supporting Taeheo, while Hyunso is stunned to see this help from someone other than their own lord. The guards offer a soft smile as Hyunso, still worried, reveals they have been chased by at least 200 men. A guard reassures him, suggesting that if he is unsure, he should just wait and watch. Then, Taecheon wonders who our boy is, and one of his men explains that he is the one who survived the Dang clan's air selection process and became the young lord. Taecheon starts mocking our protagonist, calling him a pretty boy, and reminding him to be grateful for the mercy their lord showed the clan. Now that they have crossed the line, Taecheon says he will teach them a lesson. But before he can finish his speech, Taecheon falls from his horse, leaving his men confused. On the other hand, Yeonmyeong, as calm as ever, scratches his ear, feeling itchy after listening to Taecheon's rant. Taecheon's men stand there in confusion, as does Hyunso. Finally, our hero confidently tells the enemy to go ahead and try teaching them a lesson, but makes it clear he will be the one to eliminate them instead. The unorthodox sect's soldiers stare at their master, questioning among themselves if he is truly dead. One of them notices a poison needle embedded in their master's head, wondering out loud when Yeonmyeong could have thrown it. Another points out that he didn't even see our protagonist move his arm. Instantly, our hero pulls out a handful of needles and launches them at the enemy side. Before the soldiers can react, they are struck by the needles one after another as our boy employs his technique, fall. Meanwhile, our young lord remarks that he didn't even coat the needles with poison, yet the enemies display the same symptoms regardless. At that moment, the white snake explains that it is due to its poison energy, which has seeped into the needles, and most humans cannot withstand a poison of this caliber. Yeonmyeong smirks, admitting that the white snake has proven itself somewhat useful, which predictably makes the snake a bit annoyed. On the other side, Hyunso grits his teeth, never having expected to witness such a lethal hidden weapon technique. He consequently wonders if Yeonmyeong is the one who took down the entire Taeyul Black Sword sect. Meanwhile, the remaining unorthodox soldiers realize that our protagonist has taken down hundreds of them with a single move. They struggle to comprehend it, as they had heard the Dang clan was on the verge of collapse, and yet now they face a dangerous monster. One soldier, gripping his axe tightly, believes our hero cannot have much energy left to use such a technique again, unless he is a master of transcendence. Because of this, he charges forward, determined to strike Yeonmyeong down, shouting for him to die as he brings down his weapon. However, our young lord shatters the axe with his bare hand, skillfully deploying his dragon scale technique. The enemy soldier stands shocked, unable to comprehend his axe breaking so easily. Without pause, our protagonist immediately activates the Rain of the Flowers, leaving the enemies even more confused. At the same time, Hyunso can clearly see that the Dang clan has not lost their secret technique as previously rumored. He admits internally that the Dang clan is just as powerful as it ever was, and notes that they are truly capable of challenging the unorthodox sects. His thoughts are interrupted when Yeonmyeong notices his presence. Nervously, Hyunso mumbles that he simply cannot take his eyes off these techniques. In response, Yeonmyeong suggests they return to the Dang clan's headquarters to discuss what just transpired. Hyunso acknowledges this and takes in the terrifying sight of the unorthodox sect's fallen soldiers, ultimately deciding it is best to maintain a good relationship with the Dang clan. Looking back to a few days earlier, outside the walls of Sacheon, Hyunso had told his sect uncle that he was grateful for making it here without trouble. Despite rumors that the Dang clan had fallen, things seemed peaceful. However, his uncle was tense for reasons he did not share. Suddenly, a man in a hat appeared, asking about the meal they had just finished. Hyunso hadn't sensed his presence, promptly concluding the stranger could not be an ordinary master. His eyes widened when his uncle revealed that the man was Giljun Yu. Giljun removed his hat, hoping he had not interrupted their meal, and then asked what brought them to his Sacheon. Hyunso began to sweat, never expecting to encounter the lord of the unorthodox coalition. Giljun turned to Taeheo, asking what business they had with his coalition, noting that someone of his rank could not be sent on a simple errand. On the other hand, Taeheo replied coldly that they had no business with the dark unorthodox coalition and questioned why Giljun was there alone. Giljun then wondered if they thought they could defeat him if he was by himself. Taeheo felt a bit stressed, mentioning that he was more than double Giljun's age, but Giljun simply asked if Taeheo intended to show him some respect. As he emitted aura, Taeheo stated that the amount of internal energy is critical in a fight between masters. He then asked if Giljun believed he could stand against the Gongdong sect's techniques. Meanwhile, Hyunso was stunned to see his uncle provoked, wondering if a fight was about to break out. At that moment, Giljun called Taiheo arrogant. He reminded them that the other sects had all been destroyed by him 10 years ago, stating that the only reason the Gongdong sect still existed was its distance from Secheon. Giljun then left, mentioning that if Taiheo still refused to accept reality, he could visit him for a quick exchange. Hyunso immediately tried to calm Taiheo down, but his uncle insisted he could not walk away. Consequently, he stood up, determined to counter Giljun and show him the strength of his martial arts. Now, in the present, Hyunso explains that this is how his sect uncle ended up sparring with the Lord of the Unorthodox Coalition. However, to Yeonmyeong, this does not seem like a simple spar. Hyunso then adds that they were chased afterward, remarking that Giljun was truly terrifying. The duel had continued with both exchanging strikes at such speed that even Hyunso could not keep up. Taiheo then landed a powerful attack, but Giljun commented that this could not be his best. Hearing this, Taiheo gritted his teeth and began activating the true power of the demon-suppressing sword technique. Hyunso, watching from the ground, thought his uncle had the upper hand, but then he saw Giljun smiling and blocking the attack at the last second. Determined, Taiheo decided to use his ultimate enlightenment. On the other hand, Giljun smiled, finally able to witness the technique at full power. Following a huge explosion, Hyunso was stunned to see his uncle use the ultimate move. As the smoke cleared, Taiheo announced he had defeated Giljun, but before anyone could celebrate, Giljun emerged from the smoke unharmed. Both Taiheo and Hyunso froze upon seeing him unscathed. Giljun said he should expect nothing less from one of the 9 great sects, admitting it was a martial art that truly dealt with aura. Hyunso found it unbelievable to see Giljun survive the technique. Therefore, Taiheo immediately shoved Hyunso aside as Giljun unleashed his own technique, naming it the Righteous Suppressing Divine Technique. Yeonmyeong wants to confirm whether Giljun really used the Gongdong sect's martial arts, and in response, Hyunso describes it as a modified version of their technique. Although the energy was of a different kind, it used the same method as the demon-suppressing sword technique's ultimate enlightenment, yet its power had even surpassed the original. If Taiheo hadn't blocked the attack at that moment with his remaining internal energy, Hyunso wouldn't have survived. After that, our hero slips into deep thought, recalling that Taiheo was a master of transcendence. However, what's more shocking is that Giljun learned and modified the technique merely by witnessing it once, meaning he managed to understand the martial arts of an accomplished master in only a single fight. Afterwards, Hyunso puts his hands together and tells our boy that he and his sect uncle have come here for a reason. He respectfully requests the support of the Dang clan for their sect in the upcoming Battle of Sects. He then talks about the demonic cult, a cult and armed force based in Shingang. In the past, the demonic cult was powerful enough to take on all 9 great sects and every clan in the martial world at the same time. Even though many things have changed, the reason the righteous sects have never been able to contain them is that the entire cult follows only one person's orders, the demonic cult's leader. As time passed, the situation changed when the cult leader's son, Junghyuk Yeon, emerged. He attracted many personal followers due to his heavenly martial body, and consequently, Junghyuk left the cult with his followers to create a new group, the Demons of Vast Heavens, so the previous cult wouldn't divide into factions. Hyunso explains that now is the best chance to strike at the demonic cult, as many skilled warriors have left with Junghyuk. However, their main obstacle is the Dark Unorthodox Coalition. If the coalition attacks the Gongdong sect while their warriors are away, it will be a problem. He adds that, after seeing our young lord's power, he trusts him to keep the coalition away from their sect. Therefore, Hyunso respectfully requests our protagonist's help. Unexpectedly, our hero declines right away, and consequently, Hyunso grows confused. Once again, our boy repeats that he is not interested. Later, Taiheo gets to know that our young lord has declined, and then Hyunso adds that Yeonmyeong has decided to consult with their clan leader before making a final decision. Hyunso asks his sect uncle what would happen if Yeonmyeong doesn't agree, and his uncle suggests they wait. After that, Hyunso points out that the Dang clan seems to be quite different from what they have heard. He explains he has observed the Dang clan up close and, judging by their buildings, the power of the warriors, and the overall atmosphere, it is nothing like the rumors about their collapse. Taiheo believes the Dang clan must have recovered after the fall, but their discussion is interrupted when Gyuhyun arrives to report that Yeonmyeong is waiting for them. Later, Hyunso and Taiheo are stunned to see Jihye as the current leader of the Dang clan. She welcomes them and says she has heard everything from our young lord. After seeing her, Taiheo can clearly sense she is a master of transcendence. He believes she must be the reason behind the Dang clan's revitalized spirit, and concludes that the Dang clan has finally regained the power it once had. After sitting down, Hyunso explains that the Gongdong sect is in need of help, and as a part of the Righteous Legion, they want assistance from the Dang clan in the fight against the coalition and demonic forces. After a brief pause, Jihye asks her son if his decision still hasn't changed. When our hero reveals his thoughts remain the same, Hyunso asks for a reason, adding that if they don't act now, the demonic cult will bring chaos to the world. Our boy explains that while they agree about the demonic cult, the coalition is another matter. He states he has never seen the coalition harming the people of Sacheon. Even though they collect fees for offering protection, they have used that money for proper purposes, just like the righteous sects. this. To put it simply, there is no reason to attack the coalition. Our hero becomes serious as he talks about being part of the Righteous Legion. He explains that when the dark unorthodox coalition defeated the other righteous sects, and when the demons of vast heavens attacked their clan, no one from the righteous sects stepped in to help. He understands that everyone prioritizes their family and sect above all else, but to use the demonic cult as a reason, as if it's the Dang clan's duty to fight, is wrong. He asks if they believe the Dang clan doesn't realize they are only trying to fight the demonic cult because their own sect is next. Hyunso clenches his fist, admitting internally that Yeonmyeong is right. He thinks that they talk about the greater good, but in the end, they act only when the threat reaches their own sect. Unexpectedly, Taeho apologizes for not being considerate. He admits they were wrong to ask the Dang clan to sacrifice after everything they have been through. However, Taehyo still insists on reconsideration and adds that they will also give something in return. Our young lord softens a bit, deciding not to ignore their plea any longer. Hyunso puts on a soft smile, suggesting they discuss the number of warriors to send, but our protagonist cuts him off, saying he is more interested in how much they are willing to pay. Later, Hyunso is completely dazed, unable to believe they have just offered their sect's maintenance fees for several years. Taehyo calmly says it's more than worth it if that's what it takes to save the sect. Plus, Yeonmyeong wouldn't have asked such a heavy price if he weren't confident. Hyunso admits our young lord's strength is impressive, but Taehyo interrupts, warning not to be too sure, since our protagonist may even surpass the Dang clan's leader. But Hyunso points out it's impossible for Taehyo to be fooled when it comes to energy presence. Taehyo responds that it's possible if someone hides their level of accomplishment, even from a master of transcendence. Above, our hero listens to their discussion as they leave. This makes him think that it's unlikely Taehyo would know if he was using the hidden energy presence technique. He admits internally that Taehyo's intuition is sharper than he expected. Right then, his mother demands to know why he changed his mind, knowing he didn't agree for the money alone. Our protagonist explains that it wasn't a sudden change of heart. Even though he has spoken highly of the unorthodox coalition, he doesn't fully trust them. His mother points out it is true that Sacheon was destroyed despite the fall of the major sects, and Yeonmyeong nods, but states that was only because of Giljun Yu. He points out that these sects are not considered unorthodox just because they didn't join the righteous sects. Rather, it's that they prioritize personal gain over honor and justice. Consequently, they are no different from bandits. Even though Giljun currently holds the unorthodox sects back, it's in their nature to destroy their opponents. If Giljun disappears, the unorthodox sects will destroy Sacheon completely. Jihee acknowledges this, then asks Yeonmyeong about his plan. Our hero grins, saying he plans to keep the coalition too busy to think about going north. However, his mother questions whether it isn't too much for their clan to keep them occupied. Right then, our protagonist reveals he is planning to shake them from the inside. Jihee is startled as she realizes he intends to go straight into their headquarters, but she admits it makes sense. Our boy calmly assures her and reveals he will use their invitation to attend the banquet of Sacheon. Unlike in the past, the banquet has now become a competition for the younger generation. Therefore, our young lord has decided to attend just to observe their true nature. If he finds them cruel and wicked, he will eliminate them all. Meanwhile, in a carriage outside the Dong clan, Changshin advises a girl named Yeonmyeong not to do anything reckless. He reminds her that the future of their clan depends on her actions. Yeonmyeong chuckles, reassuring her uncle that she will do her best to make Yeonmyeong hers, no matter what. Ijeon greets Taehyo, bringing bright medicines meant to aid his recovery. Taehyo lies in bed as Ijeon inquires about his internal injury. In response, Taehyo happily reveals he is feeling much better and adds that his grandfather's medicine is absolutely wonderful. He admits that when he first heard the medicine combined poison and medicinal herbs, he was hesitant. However, it worked like a charm on his internal wound. Seeing how quickly Taehyo is recovering, Ijeon believes he will return to his sect soon. Ijeon smiles warmly, pleased with the progress. Meanwhile, Hyunso hears noise outside and curiously asks Ijeon about it. Ijeon explains it is due to the arrival of the Jaegul clan, who have a long history of friendship with the Dang clan. He notes that is why they even volunteered to help with the clan's heir selection process. Now they are interested in installing a defense illusion barrier outside the clan's walls. Hyunso is dazed, knowing how close the two clans are, but he wonders if the Jaegul clan can really afford such an expense, since installing an illusion barrier costs a lot. Taehyo asks if the Dang clan is covering all the costs, but Ijeon chuckles, revealing that the Jagal clan will handle everything. He adds that the Jaegul clan has been very cooperative about the entire project, leaving both Hyunso and Taehyo stunned, wondering what the Dang clan could possibly have over them. Meanwhile, Yeonmyeong's uncle, riding in the carriage, still can't get over our hero's terrifyingly cold expression. Soon, Yeonmyeong and her uncle are about to greet Yeonmyeong. The uncle asks if he can really trust her, but Yeonmyeong reassures him, confidently claiming she is well aware of her own charms as she boasts about her beauty. Her uncle remembers how her mother, his own sister, was once called the most beautiful woman in all Hobuk. Consequently, he concludes it won't be difficult for Yeonmyeong to win over our young lord. He recalls internally that more than 10 years ago, the demons of vast heavens ambushed the Jagal clan because of his sister. She saved the clan by sacrificing herself, but unable to endure the shame of being treated as a one-night plaything, she took her own life. Now, he promises himself not to let his clan face the same tragedy again. He believes that if Young and our hero develop a relationship, the Jagal clan will survive thanks to the Dang clan's support. Deep down, he prays for Young, knowing the future of the clan rests on her. The door before them opens, and Jihee greets them, mentioning she has heard that the Jegal clan's illusion field played a major role during their selection process. Both Young and her uncle are stunned to see Jihee for the first time. Jihee beams, happily discussing their interest in installing a defense illusion barrier. Changxin is in disbelief, wondering if she truly is the mother of our young lord. He privately implies that our boy must have taken after her. He immediately greets Jihee and apologizes for not knowing the Dang clan has appointed a new leader. However, Jihee calmly shrugs it off, explaining the Jegal clan was not present when she was appointed. She then advises them to rest after their long journey, at which Changxin sincerely thanks her. Jihee then asks who the girl with Changxin is, and he reveals she is his niece, here in hopes of establishing stronger ties with the Dang clan. He asks his niece to greet Jihee, but Young is blushing hard, her heart pounding after seeing our protagonist. She wonders how someone can look so handsome and quickly concludes he will make a perfect husband. Changxin panically whispers her name, snapping Young back to reality. She bows, introduces herself, and congratulates Jihee on becoming clan leader. Jihee thanks her sincerely, finds her polite, and adds that she will be chased by boys in a few years. Calmly, Jihee reveals she was also popular in the past, remarking that Young reminds her of her younger self. Young insists she still looks beautiful, admitting she thought Jihee was our young lord's older sister. Internally, Young plans to make a good impression with both the young lord and his mother, as she will be her future mother-in-law. With that, Jihee hopes she and her son get along well, since they are the same age. Young deliberately fills her eyes with tears, mentioning her half-brother at home was never fond of her. As she opens her teary eyes hoping to move our hero, she finds him yawning. Both she and her uncle are stunned to see him yawning while she explains her hardships. Young struggles to understand this, since in her clan, boys have never left her alone. Now she feels insecure about her looks. On the other hand, our young lord is only thinking about Miso. Young clenches her fists, feeling humiliated that our hero didn't even look at her. Meanwhile, Jihee scolds our protagonist for his bad manners. Now, Young vows to make our boy fall for her no matter what. In the meantime, in Inner Sacheon City, the territory of the Dark Unorthodox Coalition, people gossip about our hero attending the banquet of Sacheon. They doubt the other sects will stay quiet after what he has done. The Heartfire sect turns out to be the preparation hall for the banquet. In a meeting, Seolyeon explains that the front page of the document is the required budget for the banquet, and behind it are the lists of participating sects and clans for the martial arts competition. Myung-il-sang, one of the 6 great unorthodox leaders, mentions that originally the Cheonjin sect was in charge of this year's banquet, but now the Heartfire sect will handle it. Seolyeon answers that she is just following their lord's orders. Another leader laughs, mentioning that their lord just sped out without even looking at Seolyeon's report. Someone else jokes that their lord is a free spirit and wonders when he will finally grow up. Suddenly, a child bursts into the meeting room, addressing everyone as her uncles. The little girl announces she also wants to attend the banquet. She hugs Myung-gil, who asks why she is interested since she stayed home last year. The little girl giggles and says she has heard the lord of the Dang clan will be there, and that he is so handsome the women who see him instantly fall for him. Myung-il points out these rumors are wild, but the little girl doesn't care about that. She decides that if the rumors are true, she will marry him. She innocently asks if she can go see him, and Myung-gil agrees, knowing she won't listen to anyone since she has already made up her mind. Meanwhile, Seolyeon grins wickedly at the little girl as something comes to her mind. Myung-il concludes that no one has the guts to deny the daughter of the Lord of the Dark Unorthodox Coalition. Mirio is combing Miso's hair and comments that it is very silky, even though she has been bedridden all this time. As they talk, she mentions that the other day she was compared to Miso in front of Yeonmyeong. She's about to ask a follow-up, but then changes the subject as she teasingly asks her sister what she truly thinks about our young lord. Miso starts to panic as her cheeks turn red, and consequently, she asks why Mirio is asking something like that. Mirio grins, noting that she observed Miso's breathing becoming heavier at the mention of his name. Annoyed, Miso asks if this is the reason why Mirio is learning martial arts, just to analyze how people breathe. Then, Mirio warns her to watch out, revealing that Yeonmyeong is planning to participate in the banquet of Sacheon, meaning they won't be able to see him for a while. Miso panics, stating that the banquet of Sacheon is a gathering of the unorthodox sects, which is far too dangerous. However, Mirio points out a different problem. What if he gets along with other girls at the banquet? She asks if Miso will allow that, at which Miso makes a sad face, thinking it would be terrible. Therefore, Mirio suggests they go to the banquet themselves. She grabs Miso's hand, ignoring her protest, and states everything will be fine because she has a plan. Later, Young requests that our hero allow her to be his attendant at the banquet. She mentions she has heard there will be a competition for control over Sacheon's future. Therefore, she is curious to see exactly how it will be held. Reluctantly, our boy mentions he has been told he can bring an attendant and a bodyguard with him. but he makes it clear that they are not going on vacation. Internally, Young is all fired up to accompany our hero and earn his affection. Suddenly, Mirio opens the door and addresses our boy. He looks at her, noting he already sensed someone coming. Mirio steps inside holding her sister's arm, stating she has something to propose. However, Mirio pauses upon seeing Young sitting there. Both of them instantly feel hostile towards each other, demanding to know who the other is. Meanwhile, our young lord is curious to know why Mirio has brought Miso along. In response, Mirio confidently mentions that she and Miso want to go to the banquet with him. Yeonmyoung feels a bit confused, so he asks if she wants him to take her as his bodyguard and Miso as his attendant. While patting Miso's shoulder, Mirio nods, explaining he must need a couple of servants, and for that, she and Miso are perfect. Meanwhile, Young is confused, wondering what Mirio is planning. But she also notes that Mirio is acting as if she knows the young lord personally. Then she looks at Miso and concludes she is as pretty as the clan leader. Internally, she bites her nails in panic, believing her plans will be ruined if our hero takes that girl with him. Surprisingly, our boy states he can take Mirio as his bodyguard, but he cannot take Miso, because he has already promised the position of attendant to someone else. Mirio fumes, stating she will not come if he doesn't take Miso as well, while Young starts blushing, wondering if he is talking about her. Our hero calmly tells Mirio that if she is not willing to go, then he will find another bodyguard. Miso's eyes fill with tears. At first, she says it is all right, but as her tears grow, she admits she isn't fine at all, yet still insists it is okay. Since our young lord has said he doesn't need her, she believes they shouldn't get upset. Right then, Mirio glares at Yeonmyoung coldly and demands that he see her outside. Outside, Mirio admits our hero is incredible. He has skills, judgment, and decisiveness. But she simply cannot understand why he is so dense when it comes to women. She grits her teeth, believing he is not grateful for the help she is offering him. She asks why he can't accept Miso, reminding him she has given him a perfect chance to build a relationship, yet he is throwing it away. But to her surprise, our protagonist explains it is too dangerous at the banquet, as they cannot predict what will happen when the younger generations of the unorthodox sects collide. He worries about what might happen to Miso, while he and Mirio are preoccupied, questioning who will take responsibility if she is hurt. He reminds Mirio that the banquet is in the territory of the Dark Unorthodox Coalition, and points out that Miso is still recovering, hence it would be too much for her to handle. Finally, Mirio reluctantly agrees, stating she will go with him. Yeonmyoung grows confused because she previously decided not to go without Miso, but then Mirio yells at him, revealing she simply cannot leave him alone with that seductive woman. Later in the evening, Changshin is dozing off while holding a document. Our hero appears out of nowhere, catching him napping on the job. Changshin freaks out, explaining he has finished casting the illusion barrier and was just making final adjustments. He says it will be done by tomorrow evening. Right then, our hero begins observing the barriers using his vision technique. Now he can see a powerful protective illusion barrier right above their clan buildings. Changshin explains that from the Hall of Dark Poison to the Executive Council, the barriers have been installed around the most important structures. Recalling how Yeonmyoung told him to finish within a week, Changshin nervously mentions he has met the deadline and hopes it is to his satisfaction. Our boy pats his shoulder, stating he trusts him to finish the rest as planned. Changshin makes a tearful face, as he was expecting a thank you. Still, he nods in acknowledgement. Afterward, our young lord smiles warmly, thinking that now he can go to the banquet without worry, as the clan will be protected. Now he notes he needs to take care of one more thing. Therefore he summons the fourth elder, Jiryong-dang, who appears right in front of him. He admits he was surprised to be summoned for a private conversation. Then, our hero mentions that Jiryong was made an elder due to his excellent swordsmanship, and since our boy has decided to master the sword, he wants to have a talk. Recalling the heir selection process, the fourth elder reveals he has never achieved the flow of the sword Yeonmyoung used that day, confessing he is still in awe of the difference in their abilities. Then, our boy bluntly points out that at Jiryong's current level, he wouldn't last a single move. This is the reason why he has summoned him, to give him tips. However, he will teach him in exchange for something. Our boy demands that Jiryong submit to him in the future. He guarantees the fourth elder will never get an opportunity like this again. Now he wants to know, will Jiryong switch his loyalty? Hyunso thanks the Dang clan for their kindness as he and Taehyo prepare to leave. On behalf of the Gongdong sect, Hyunso sincerely thanks them for joining their quest. Following this, Taehyo thanks the clan for helping heal his internal injuries and adds that he will be available whenever the Dang clan needs him. Jae warmly accepts their gratitude and offers some of her soldiers and elders to assist with the extermination of the demonic cult. Taehyo states they will never forget this generosity, and then shakes hands with Jihye, announcing they will send the payment the moment they return home. After that, Taehyo reaches out to Yeonmyoung to thank him for saving them before they could become as good as Carrion. As they shake hands, Taehyo remarks that it won't be long before our young lord surpasses him. Suddenly, he senses a massive amount of internal energy emanating from our boy, which makes him flinch. Hyunso freaks out, observing that his sect uncle does not look well, but Taehyo shrugs it off and lies, claiming he is just feeling sad about their departure. However, as they head back, Taehyo notes internally that it was not just his imagination. He wonders how the boy's power could be so impressive. Consequently, he realizes that Jihye is not the sole reason behind the Dang clan's restoration. It is all due to our young lord. Meanwhile, Jihye instructs her soldiers to repay a favor twice but seek revenge tenfold. She declares that according to Dang clan law, they hold loyalty in high regard. Now that they have joined hands with the Gongdong sect, their destinies have become one. All the soldiers, including several elders, acknowledge her orders in unison. With that, Jihye wishes them luck. Later, Aijun delivers the poison that burns intestines to our hero, who admits he is always grateful for his help. However, Ijun is curious as to why he always requests the same poison when they have so many to choose from. Yamyang smirks, mentioning he has simply become completely familiar with this one, and finds nothing else quite like it. He then waves to Ijun as he prepares to leave, while Ijun smiles warmly and reminds him to come back alive. As our hero departs, the white snake emerges and asks a strange question, if he is sure he is not of age. Yeonmyung asks why it is asking such a thing, to which the white snake replies that it doesn't understand how he is able to use such advanced martial arts at his years. It states it would only believe him if he were an old master who had spent decades refining his skills. Still, it believes he is not yet near the level of the shadowless visitor, even though it points out that the sword flow our hero used to defeat the fourth elder was several levels higher than the swordsman its former master fought. Our boy gets a bit annoyed, pointing out that the Lord of the Coalition is a master who can learn a technique just by seeing it, and therefore, he himself cannot afford to be anything less than a prodigy. He believes the snake's questions are useless. However, the snake still feels something is strange. After a moment, our hero arrives at the entrance where the others are waiting. Mirio waves at him, asking why he is so late, so Yeonmyung explains he was picking up poison from Aijun. He then asks about the man standing in the middle, who bows and greets our young lord. He introduces himself as Gil Jiang, their escort to the city center. Before our young lord can thank him, Jihye appears and asks if he is about to leave. Everyone greets the clan leader immediately, but Jihye tells them to dispense with the formalities. Jihye acknowledges that something big is happening but states she will support her son no matter what path he chooses, hoping he doesn't overdo it. Yeonmyung respectfully reassures her, stating he is taken after his mother. Jihye chuckles, jokingly mentioning he is the proud son of the poisonous phoenix after all. Then, she entrusts the security of her son to his companions and warmly wishes them farewell. Eventually, the group arrives at Sacheon Hyonyang. Mirio comments that everything feels very lively, noting it wasn't like this the last time she visited. Yeonmyung asks if she has been here before, and she proudly reveals she visited a few times when her father was the head of the merchant guild. She mentions his guild was once one of the biggest in Sacheon, but it has since shrunk due to the unorthodox sects. Our hero mentions he remembers her father telling him this. Internally, our boy believes that if their clan continues to grow, they must establish a merchant guild of their own, as they cannot rely on embezzled funds or the remedy hall's profits forever. Therefore, he instructs Mirio to visit him with her father once this is over, as he plans to help him become the head of a merchant guild once again. Mirio can't believe it and yells at him, warning him not to take it back later. Meanwhile, a merchant sits hopelessly nearby because no customers have visited. He wishes for someone to stop by who has a keen interest in swords. Surprisingly, our hero's team arrives at his shop. Yeonmyung asks if the place is open, stating he wants to look at the blades. The merchant notices their peculiar outfits and warmly welcomes them inside, casually claiming his swords are among the finest in the city. Mirio curiously asks why our boy needs a sword, to which he reveals he simply thought having a weapon would be beneficial. While observing a sword closely, our hero can tell the shopkeeper wasn't lying, as the blade possesses great quality and a sharp aura. He tells the merchant the swords are excellent, and when the shopkeeper inquires if he is familiar with weaponry, our hero claims he is, though a little bit only. He then remarks that while the sword may look plain, the aura is sharp, proof of how carefully it was forged. The merchant is amazed that he can tell so much from a single glance. Consequently, our hero decides to buy the sword, but the merchant suddenly runs off, requesting that he wait for a moment. After a minute, the shopkeeper returns with a storage box, revealing he was saving a specific item for someone with a great eye for steel. As the box opens, the merchant reveals the finest blade ever forged, the Demon Reaper. Both Mirio and Yeonmyung can feel how amazing the sword is. Even Yeonmyung, who doesn't know a thing about swords, can tell its quality is exceptional. Then, the merchant reveals that his master passed away while forging this blade. Therefore, he took over and completed it himself. He is curious to know what Yeonmyung thinks, as he is certain that this is a sword for the ages. Internally, our boy agrees with the merchant, believing this sword is comparable to the one he used in his past life. He can feel the very essence of sharpness embedded within it. Surprisingly, he tells the shopkeeper that he doesn't need this sword, even though he can tell the craftsmanship is brilliant. The merchant nervously asks if it failed to meet his expectations. However, our hero mentions it is quite the opposite. He tells the shopkeeper to be proud of what he has made, but explains that is precisely why he cannot accept it. Although deep down he notes that walking around with such a weapon would draw too much attention, he simply claims he is fine with a regular sword. He tells the shopkeeper he will inspect the blade he selected earlier, and though the shopkeeper sighs, he decides to meet the demand. Suddenly, a group arrives at the shop, causing the shopkeeper to panic as he realizes it is young Lord Yan. Yan, in a rage, reminds the merchant that he asked for the finest sword available. It turns out he is the heir of the Hyonyang Gate, Socheong Yeon, who assumes the shopkeeper has dared to hide that blade from him. He never thought a mere blacksmith would treat him that way, so the blacksmith frantically tries to explain he has it all wrong. Meanwhile, our young lord senses a foreign energy from Yeon's guards and feels something is off. Right then, the white snake emerges, pointing out that it is a demonic aura. It insists it came to recognize this energy when it fought the shadowless visitor. Internally, our protagonist admits he has heard of it before, but he wonders what cultists are doing here in Sacheon. The white snake whispers that it doesn't know either, but notes they can find out if they take a few of them in for interrogation. Yeon appears right in front of Yeonmyeong, telling him to get out of the way, as he intends to eliminate the blacksmith or anyone else in his path. Unexpectedly, our boy calls him a kid and flicks his forehead hard. The guards' eyes widen as they call out for their young lord. Then, our protagonist remarks that Yeon can never wield a sword, even the finest weapon on earth, consequently suggesting he trained for a couple more decades before coming back. One of Yeon's guards raises his blade, demanding to know how he dared to flick the forehead of Jinsun Nam's grandson. He declares that death is the only suitable punishment. However, ignoring the guard, our hero straightforwardly asks what their relation is with the demonic cult. At this, everyone on Yeon's side freezes. Suddenly, a man emerges from the group, leaving Yeonmyeong to wonder nervously where he came from. Meanwhile, Yeon and his guards look back to see a masked man standing there, who simply asks how they dare insult his cult with that name. All of Yeon's guards move to protect their young lord, but with only one move, the masked man eliminates several of them. He decides to take Yeon with them, and orders his men to kill the rest. The masked man admits to our hero that he is impressed he saw through their shadow cloak, simply asking how he knew they were there. Meanwhile, the blacksmith and the two girls tremble in fear at the sight of cultists in the middle of Sacheon. Surprisingly, our young lord mentions it is impossible not to notice them when demonic cultists stink pretty bad. He mocks the masked man, suggesting he should hide his ugly face if he wishes to hide his identity. Mirio finally yells at our boy, asking if he is really trying to provoke such a dangerous man. The masked guy then asks if the slaughter of the guards wasn't enough to frighten him, but our hero smirks, saying the cultists should be the ones who are afraid. He then borrows a sword from the blacksmith, calling the cultist group just as ugly as the guards they just killed. The masked cultist leader fumes and orders his men to take Yeon away while he deals with Yeonmyeong. When one of the men grabs him, Yeon yells in panic, as he still doesn't know who they really are. Meanwhile, our protagonist notices that Yeon indeed did not sense their presence, yet he admits the boy isn't entirely innocent. Suddenly, the masked leader launches his attack, demanding that our hero pay attention. However, with just one strike, our hero breaks his opponent's sword as an explosion erupts. The cultist leader lies on the ground, unable to understand how this happened even though he was faster. As he attempts to strike back, his head falls to the ground, causing his underlings to freeze. Mirio, Yeonmyeong, and young Lord Yeon are all equally stunned. Yeonmyeong stands before the headless leader, now fully agreeing that the sword he is holding is a masterpiece. He notes that the balance is almost perfect, and the blade is so sharp it wasn't even stained by blood. He tells the blacksmith that this is certainly the work of a master. Yeonmyeong admits the blacksmith's master forged a masterpiece and that the apprentice is impressive for continuing that work. Hearing this, the blacksmith becomes tearful while remembering his master. He recalls his master saying that every item of value eventually finds a worthy owner. Now, in the present, the blacksmith admits he has found the true owner of the Demon Reaper. Meanwhile, our hero is busy dealing with the remaining cultists as they all charge at him simultaneously. However, our protagonist effortlessly strikes them all down with the Demon Reaper. Seeing this, Yeon is terrified, and the blacksmith is left in awe. The girls are just as stunned, with Mirio revealing she isn't even surprised anymore. She simply wonders when our young lord learned how to use a sword. In a building, a man walks through a corridor, thinking that everything is going exactly as planned. That green-haired man notes that even the unorthodox coalition cannot figure out that he is from the cult's bloodline. In reality, that man is Ujung Yeon, the second son and the son-in-law of the Hyeongyang Gate's leader, Jinsun Nam. He recalls that his son, So Cheong, is a natural-born martial artist, as any member of the Yeon clan should be. He is not saying this simply because he is his father. Rather, it is a fact that people of So Cheong's age cannot even be compared to him. He clenches his fist, thinking that if So Cheong shows off his martial arts in the upcoming banquet and secures a place in the unorthodox coalition, it will be the first step toward weakening their power. By the time they realize something is wrong, a demonic path will have arrived in Sacheon. Suddenly, a masked, injured man rushes in, yelling for Sir Yeon. Ujung immediately recognizes him as a member of the Thousand Moons unit escorting So Cheong. The man informs him that their young lord has been attacked by a masked assailant. Meanwhile, Yeonmyeong is busy eliminating all the masked men. As the shop fills with dead bodies, Mirio wonders aloud who will clean up the mess, adding that if Miso were here, she would have passed out. She then points out that one of the men ran away earlier and might return with reinforcements. However, our hero reveals that he let him go on purpose. He points his sword toward So Cheong and notes that this man doesn't even know he is connected to the demon cult. He implies there must be someone who hired these men to protect him. So Cheong yells in protest, claiming he doesn't even know who those men are, yet our young lord presses his blade against his neck, making him cry in panic. Our boy then reveals he will find out the truth soon from those who are approaching now. Suddenly, someone outside yells loudly for our hero to come out. Outside the shop, Ujung has arrived with his forces, shouting that he knows our hero has taken the young master hostage. He demands that they release him and surrender, promising to spare their lives. Otherwise, Ujung yells furiously that he will feed them to monsters. Next, our hero steps outside, declaring that they are ready and asking what Ujung can possibly do while he holds Sochung. Meanwhile, Mirio, Yongyang, and the blacksmith peek out from the shop, wondering who the real villain is in this situation. Mirio grits her teeth as she observes the high number of enemies, which makes her wonder what Yeonmyeong is thinking. Ujung yells at our young lord again, telling him he doesn't know who he is dealing with. In response, our hero immediately says, "The demon cult." He adds that he can sense the evil energy coming from them, which is demonic energy. He asks if Ujung has hidden his identity to ruin Sacheon, noting that while he isn't sure if the unorthodox coalition is aware of this, they certainly won't let it slide once they find out. Ujung is stunned that our protagonist recognized the hidden demonic energy with just one glance. He also notes that our hero stands unscathed, even though the Heavenly Moon Brigade should have already eliminated him. Concluding that our protagonist is dangerous, he orders the brigade to use their reverse blood demonic technique. Hearing this, Mirio recognizes it as the same technique the Lord of the Demons of the Vast Heavens used against the Dang clan in the past. As the masked soldiers unleash the technique, our hero asks Ujung if he is related to Junghyuk Yeon. However, Ujung questions if that is truly what he wants to ask before he dies. While moving the sword away from Sochung, Yeonmyeong reveals he has no personal grudge against Ujung, but notes that Ujung's family destroyed his own. Ujung mockingly laughs, shouting that there is no family his brother did not destroy. He starts guessing, the Jegal family, the Moyong family, and points out that since they are in Sacheon, it must be the Dang family. He confidently demands to know where our hero is from, vowing to destroy his family after eliminating him. Meanwhile, Mirio and Yongyang start to get chills. As Mirio begins to move, Yongyang grabs her, stating that while they might die if they interfere, they must trust our young lord at this moment. Ujung yells at his soldiers to eliminate him, while the white snake emerges to ask our hero about his plan. As he raises his blade, our boy asks if the snake really needs to ask, as he simply intends to strike them down. With one move, eliminate, our boy strikes down all the soldiers at once. Ujung, the blacksmith, and the girls are all left speechless by what they just witnessed. Ujung cannot process it, recalling that 70 warriors used the reverse blood demonic technique. Therefore, he believes even a master at the peak realm couldn't be this strong. This feels exactly like when Ujung was in the cult. He recalls that the left and right guardians were heavily injured at the end of the heir's initiation ceremony, where the winner was Junghyuk Yeon. Now in the present, Ujung admits internally that his brother's power overwhelmed the guardians at their peak. He hasn't felt that kind of power since that day, but he is sensing it now from Yeonmyeong. Now knowing this fight is lost, Ujung kneels and begs our hero to spare his life. Deep down, he wants to save his son, so he announces he will give up his own life in exchange for Sochung's. He insists his son is an ordinary kid who was unaware of the involvement. However, our boy coldly asks if it is normal in the demonic cult to try to eliminate a blacksmith just for not offering a sword. Suddenly, Sochung starts cursing our hero, and consequently, our boy instantly strikes him down. Seeing his son's head fall, Ujung is filled with rage. Meanwhile, our hero mentions that this is exactly how the families of the people they killed felt. Our protagonist doesn't feel any pity for Ujung, coldly stating that he doesn't even want to spar with anyone from the demons of vast heavens. In a heavy rage, Ujung starts screaming. However, ignoring the noise, our boy strikes him down for good. Later, Yeonmyeong feels confused when the blacksmith offers him the Demon Reaper for free. The blacksmith states he would have died without him, therefore he is giving him the sword as a gift. He adds that his master wished for the sword to find its rightful owner, and he believes his master would be happy with this decision. Mirio comments that Yeonmyeong should just take it without protesting, and Yeongyang congratulates him on the new weapon. Our hero finally mentions that if everyone insists, he will accept it. Mirio giggles, pointing out that he was going to accept it from the start. Our hero then requests a simpler sheath since the sword stands out too much, and the blacksmith acknowledges the request. Meanwhile, the White Snake cannot fathom that a member of the Dang clan is this skilled with a sword. It simply cannot imagine how powerful he will become in the future, perhaps even more so than the shadowless visitor. In a long line of people, several individuals spot Yeonmyeong's group and begin to whisper among themselves, noting that he is the one who was seen among the heirs of the Sacheon sex. They observe that his attendant and bodyguard are both women, consequently leading them to conclude that he is quite the ladies' man. One person wonders aloud why he has come to attend the banquet, while another mentions that they can already imagine what his martial arts skills must be like. Furthermore, as they notice some ladies casting glances at him, someone else remarks that they have already lost before even starting. Internally, they admit they have never seen a boy as handsome as Yeonmyeong in all their years. At the entrance, clerks approach Yeonmyeong and ask about his identity. Our hero responds confidently, declaring that he is the heir of the Dang clan of Sacheon. Inside the Heartfire sect, Seolyeon receives word that the young lord of the Dang clan has finally arrived. Her informer, prostrating before her, reports that our protagonist registered early in the morning and went directly to his lodging. Seolhyun grits her teeth, thinking that Yeonmyeong should rest for now, since she has plans to eliminate him later to avenge her brother Mag. Her thoughts then drift back to her past, recalling the time she was holding a book in fear in the woods. Inhu Mag was the one who saved her from bandits. As a concubine of a high-ranking official, Seol-yun had not needed to worry about food, but she was nothing more than a plaything for that man, who died suddenly one day. Knowing he was a passionate collector of martial arts tomes, she managed to get her hands on one and ran away, hoping to start a new life. On that same day, she encountered Inhu. They grew close, and he taught her the basics of martial arts so she could protect herself. After learning these basics, she began studying the Red Lotus Burning Flame technique from the tome she had stolen. However, happiness was not in her fate, as her body began to deteriorate from a terminal disease. When she realized that she did not have much time left, she decided to leave Inhu, not wanting him to see her in that state. Time went by, and eventually, she heard that Inhu had become the master of the Tai Yul Black Sword sect, while she herself was confined to her bed, awaiting death. Sometimes, she even wished to die instead of enduring the endless pain, yet she could not bring herself to do it, as she was not ready to give up on Inhu. Fortunately, one day Inhu appeared, accompanied by Giljun. Inhu told Giljun that Seol-yun was a talented woman, but now she was dying. Giljun explained that she had practiced a Yang-style martial art with a woman's body, and since spirit and logic are opposing forces, the natural consequence was death. He instructed her to recite the passages of the martial arts she had practiced. Seol-yun began reciting, finishing in less than 10 minutes. Afterward, Giljun developed a technique that allowed her to use the Red Lotus Burning Flame technique with a woman's body, naming it the Neo-Red Lotus Burning Flame technique. Later, in gratitude for saving her life, Seol-yun created the Heartfire sect and joined the coalition. She thought this might allow her to rekindle the old flame between herself and Inhu. However, to her surprise, Inhu revealed that he had only sought her out because of her talent. He had already grown away from her more than she realized. Yet she knew she had no right to blame him, because she had been the first to leave. But at the same time, she did not want to waste the second chance she had been given. Before long, she received news of the Tai Yul Black Sword sect's destruction, and on that day, she swore to herself that she would take revenge on the heir of the Dang clan. Now, in the present, Seol-yun grits her teeth again, realizing that she would love nothing more than to eliminate Yeonmyung at this instant. But she knows that he has already reached the first level of transcendence. She is aware that not even her Red Lotus Burning Flame technique would be enough to defeat him. Because of this, she has prepared something special for the banquet, something even our boy will not be able to avoid. Elsewhere, Yeonmyung is meditating. His white snake has tried to interrupt him for the past 2 hours, but he has not moved at all. The snake wonders how he could be so focused at such a young age, suspecting that maybe he is actually an old man returned to his youth. Inside his mind, our protagonist is sparring with a warrior, and after exchanging several attacks, he uses the technique called annihilation. However, his opponent is completely unscratched. At this, our young lord wonders if it is impossible to fully use Annihilate with the Azure Pool of Poisonlust technique. He remembers having managed to eliminate 70 at once that day, but even that was only half its power. If the technique were at its original strength, then the energy control technique he used in his previous life, known as the Formidable Force technique, would be required. He decides he must master that if he wants to unleash Annihilate at full power. Yet, one of the characteristics of the Formidable Force technique is its corrosive force, and most people die instantly when attempting it. Despite this, Yeonmyung believes he can quickly reach the level of power he had in his past life. As he thinks about this, a part of our hero still longs to use a sword, but he refuses to follow that path. With his current energy control technique, he has been able to produce the essence of annihilation, even if it is weak. He knows it is weak because the technique does not suit the sword. With this realization, Yeonmyung opens his eyes in reality, only to find his face covered with doodles. He tells Mirio to remove them from his face, and she hiccups, still holding a brush. She panics and asks if he really was not asleep, to which he shakes his head. Anyhow, he is hoping that they both are ready. Mirio nods confidently, stating that they are. However, before he can get up, Yeonmyung asks her fellow how long she is going to treat their young lord as if he is her close friend. Mirio fumes. She does not understand why it bothers her. Yeonmyung fires back, yelling that no one will take him seriously if his bodyguard treats him like that. Mirio argues, asking why Yeonmyung cares if anyone takes him seriously or not. Surprisingly, our protagonist says Yeonmyung is not wrong, which makes Mirio even more irritated as she points out that he is taking Yeonmyung's side. Then, our young lord clarifies that this does not mean they need to be careful around the unorthodox sect weaklings, since he does not care what a pile of dead bodies thinks of him. Finally, jokingly, Yeonmyung picks up the brush to pay her back tenfold, causing Mirio to freeze. The banquet of Sacheon finally begins, with musicians performing to set the atmosphere. After the performance, Seol-yun steps forward to deliver her introductory speech. She confidently states that everyone present already knows the purpose of the banquet of Sacheon. Consequently, she cuts straight to the point, announcing that everyone is gathered here to steal each other's power and to risk having their own authority stolen. She adds that the participants will compete using martial arts, and, as per tradition, fights to the death are permitted. Every participant must write down their wish as their stake and sign the document. Therefore, in the end, the victor will take everything. The winner will hold authority for 5 years, and should any dissent arise, as the leader of the Heartfire sect, she will notarize their victory. She warns that anyone breaking the rules will be considered a traitor against the coalition itself and punished accordingly. After making the rules clear, Seolyeon gestures toward the distinguished individuals attending this year's banquet. Among them is Master Myong Il-sang, also known as the Sword of the Nine Illusions. The participants immediately recognize him as one of the 6 great unorthodox leaders, and one even says it was his dream as a swordsman to meet him at least once. Meanwhile, Myong smirks to himself, admitting that Yeonmyung is making him blush, since our young lord has already reached the first level of transcendence. He playfully mutters that he has come with Yun Hui, the daughter of their lord, which has him anticipating some impressive martial arts displays today. Seolyeon then announces that Myong will oversee any fights to the death, stating that anyone wishing to engage in such a match must get his permission. As the banquet officially begins, a large number of warriors raise their hands to seek approval. Among them, one requests that Myong allow him and Yeonmyung to fight to the death. This warrior is none other than Cheonhui Mag, the eldest son of Inhu Mag, the former leader of the Tai Yul Black Sword sect. Upon realizing Cheonhui's identity, Myong wonders if this is about revenge, recalling rumors that Inhu was eliminated by the Dang clan. Inhu was renowned as one of the strongest warriors among all the sects. However, Cheonhui steps forward and declares that, as the heir of the Tai Yul Black Sword sect, he wishes to avenge his father's death by challenging our protagonist. Meanwhile, Mirio, standing among the crowd, mutters that it was the Tai Yul Black Sword sect who attacked the Dang clan first, but Yeonmyung quickly stops her from being too loud. Myong grants Cheonhui permission for a deathmatch with our hero, and consequently, both warriors move into the arena. At the same time, Yunhui becomes visibly excited to see our boy in action. She knows his martial arts skills are rumored to be without equal, but now she admits he looks absolutely handsome as well. Myong, observing Yunhui's reaction, notes how thrilled she is, though he realizes she will be just as disappointed if Yeonmyung loses the fight. Myong announces that only the contestants' attendants and bodyguards are allowed to participate in this fight to the death. Furthermore, there are no forbidden forms of attack, and participants have the right to ignore their opponent's surrender. Upon hearing no objections from either side, Myong states that they may attack with their bodyguards and attendants. He then turns to our protagonist and asks if he has brought a bodyguard. Yeonmyung reveals that he has, but does not intend for them to intervene. He asserts that the result will be the same whether he faces one opponent or 3. Understandably, this statement infuriates the opposing team, while Myong admits he likes his guts. With that, the match begins, as the opposing side draws their weapons. After exchanging glances, Cheonhui's team forms up, and Cheonhui's sword begins to emit a purple aura. The crowd murmurs in excitement at witnessing the sword's aura. Someone calls out that it's the Black Sword sect leader's specialty, the Black Sword aura, while another points out that Cheonhui has mastered the Tai Yul twin swords technique. Cheonhui's bodyguard and attendant launch a simultaneous attack on our hero, while Cheonhui himself holds back, waiting for an opening so he can later eliminate our boy with his twin swords. However, in just a second, both of his men are taken down by our protagonist. The spectators are stunned, wondering how both men collapsed, until someone notices cow hair needles embedded in their necks. Even Myong finds it difficult to believe what he has just witnessed. Afterward, Yeonmyung turns to his opponent, asking how long he intends to keep him waiting and urging him to make a move before he falls asleep. Cheonhui fumes, barely containing his rage as he cannot wait to take our hero's head. He finally attacks, but as he closes in, Cheonhui is startled to find that Yeonmyung has already vanished from sight. Our hero reappears behind him, pointing out that among those who invaded the Dang clan, 2 people wielded the same sword aura. One was Cheonhui's father, and the other was a spy. However, our protagonist finds Cheonhui far inferior to both of them. Cheonhui is furious but feels a sense of hopelessness, unable to believe this is how it is going to end for him. Meanwhile, the crowd notes that not even 10 minutes have passed since their fight began, and they cannot decide whether Yeonmyung is simply too strong or Cheonhui is too weak. Cheonhui then becomes aware that he has been struck by a needle. He feels ashamed, not for failing to get his revenge, but for not living up to his father's reputation. Still, he summons his strength, and the aura from his sword intensifies until it turns completely black. With his transformed sword, Cheonhui attempts to attack our protagonist, determined to prove he is greater than his father. To everyone's shock, our hero effortlessly grabs the sword, imbued with aura, with his bare hand, and then breaks it to pieces. The entire crowd is left in disbelief. Mirio, watching from the side, jokes that nothing surprises her anymore, while Yeonmyung cannot imagine Yeonmyung losing at this point. Seeing his opponent lying defeated, our boy reflects that he originally intended to go easy on Cheonhui, but he never expected the other to remain standing after being poisoned by the blue-horned white snake's poison. In the midst of the astonished crowd, Myong exclaims that he never thought he would witness the black catching hand technique here. He explains that, according to rumors, the Dang clan wears gloves or toughens their hands to handle sharp hidden weapons, but what he saw was our protagonist stopping a sword aura blade with his bare hands. Internally, Yeonmyung knows it is all thanks to the aura body armor, dragon scale, but he has no intention of revealing that, so he simply shrugs it off. Myong then announces that both he and the Heartfire sect confirm Yeonmyung's victory, so now it is up to him to decide whether to continue or stop. Our hero chooses to continue, but requests permission to challenge everyone present at once. The crowd is left speechless, while Seolyun grows furious. Yeonmyoung adds that, regardless, the end result will be the same either way. Now every warrior in the arena is growing furious at Yeonmyoung. They feel as if their egos have been deeply wounded, convinced that someone as arrogant as him has insulted them all by daring to challenge everyone after just a single victory. They start calling him the arrogant and petty heir of a fallen clan, consequently declaring that they will show him who the real warriors of Sacheon are. Unexpectedly, Seolyun steps forward and silences the crowd. She explains that the banquet of Sacheon is not a mindless brawl between thugs, and reminds everyone that this gathering is for the next generation of martial artists to display their strength and skills, representing their respective sects. She coldly announces that, as the host, she will not tolerate anyone disregarding the rules to act as they wish. Surprisingly, Myoung starts speaking, asking Seolyun if there is any real need to be so strict. He reveals that he genuinely wants to see what the Dang clan heir is capable of. Although Seolyun protests, Myoung soon cuts her off, consequently reminding her that he will personally step in if things get out of hand. Reluctantly, she agrees to his decision. Afterwards, Myoung reflects on the Dang clan's hidden weapons technique, which is especially suited for mass combat, but he points out that if hundreds of warriors enter the arena at once, they will only end up interfering with one another. He tells our hero that they will limit the number of opponents he can face simultaneously, though he is allowed to choose them himself. Myoung also gives him permission to speak up if he wants any changes. However, with a confident smile, Yeonmyoung calmly states that he is fine with the arrangement. Later, Myoung is left absolutely stunned, beginning to question whether he made the right choice. At first, he thought that after a few rounds, the participants would come up with strategies to counter Yeonmyoung's cow hair needles. He believed that once the challengers witnessed his hidden weapons technique, they would stand a chance. Nevertheless, in less than an hour, our protagonist has eliminated more than half of the participants. He has not used any other technique besides the cow hair needles and blade catching technique. Still, one of the challengers managed to put up a fight. Myoung cannot figure out how our boy has become so powerful, as he never sensed that much internal energy from him. Therefore, Myoung concludes that at this rate, the banquet cannot continue much longer. Meanwhile, the contestants begin to run away in hopelessness, loudly declaring that they surrender and are finished with this banquet. Unexpectedly, a bandaged warrior steps forward, stomping on the ground and drawing everyone's attention. This bandaged figure announces that the Chobung sect will challenge our hero next, adding that they do not need any other sects to support them, as he and his guards are more than enough. He declares that our young lord's solo performance ends here, revealing himself to be Cheonggang Yob, heir of the Chobung sect. From above, Myoung notes that while all the other challengers are fleeing, Cheonggang alone has stepped up to challenge Yeonmyoung. He supposes that if anyone is capable of defeating our hero, it must be the Chobung sect. When Myoung asks Yeonmyoung if he has any objection, he simply shakes his head. Deep down in his thoughts, our boy finds Cheonggang interesting. With that, Myoung announces the start of the match. Our hero throws his needles, but Cheonggang counters every single one, making them clatter harmlessly to the ground. Mirio and Yeonmyoung are both stunned to see that Cheonggang has deflected all of our protagonist's attacks. They notice that Cheonggang's skin is dry and cracked like tree bark. Myoung observes that he is using the ancient tree body technique, which dries and twists the body and greatly strengthens the muscles and bones. Now the only question left is how Yeonmyoung will respond. Right then, our warrior uses the movement technique, Dark Shadow, dodging his opponent so swiftly that Myoung grows confused, unable to see him for a moment. Furthermore, Myoung wonders if our young lord has mastered the light movement technique. After employing the technique, our hero lands a strike on one opponent, piercing a needle into his forehead. The second opponent instantly skids back, and our hero notes that it's possible to break through this body with enough force. One opponent charges straight at Yeonmyoung in a rage, but our boy grabs the man's mouth and forces his fingers inside. With a smirk, he wonders if the opponent's tongue is as tough as the rest of him. Then he pierces a needle into the tongue, causing the opponent to collapse. Our young lord thinks it's a shame that the tongue was not trained after all. Next, the third opponent, Cheonggang, comes at him and attempts to land a punch. After dodging the attack, our hero strikes back with his own technique, slamming Cheonggang to the ground. However, our boy notices that even after channeling internal energy into his blow, he was unable to break through Cheonggang's body. As Cheonggang hits back, our boy grabs his neck and holds on tightly. Our hero acknowledges that Cheonggang is strong, but asks if that is truly all he can do. He questions if Cheonggang really thought he could win just by relying on thick skin, and asks if that's all he has to offer, or if he would mind being eliminated right now. Cheonggang smirks and fires back, questioning if our boy thinks this is really all there is. He reveals that he was waiting for Yeonmyoung to grab him, and as he grabs our hero's arm, Cheonggang declares that now he will show the true power of the ancient tree body technique. Cheonggang recalls how his master, Injae Yob, the leader of the Chobung sect, taught him the hidden skill of the technique, warning him it must remain a secret from the world. His master instructed him that if he ever used it, he must eliminate his opponent completely. Now, in the present, Cheonggang frowns, believing this is the perfect moment to use that technique. With that, he begins to unleash the hidden skill, the energy absorption technique. Cheonggang announces that he will drain all of our hero's internal energy, leaving him to wither and die. However, our protagonist sighs and tells him he would never do that if he were in Xiongang's position.